State Radio Network.
Yes, it is, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and a podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Let me turn the studio AC is turned up. It was a warm day here in Florida. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. I hope it was nice where you're at. I hope it was pleasant. But more importantly, tonight's sailing is going to be outstanding. It's going to be calm, not too choppy. Get your ticket, get on board, sit down. We have our very special guest going to be joining us here in a few minutes. Laurie McDonald. I can get that name right. That's one of my favorite restaurants. That's pretty sad. Probably shouldn't admit that to people. Oh, Lord. But I hope you have plans for the weekend, as this is Friday. I hope you have very special plans. I hope you have someone that you can share your weekend with. And if you don't, that's okay. You can share it with us listening to the old shows. I'll be around. Hook me up on Facebook. I'll talk to you if I'm in the studio. I'm going to be doing some work. We're going to be doing some more automation work here in the studio, getting some things done, getting them ready for next week. But yeah, send me a Facebook. And if you're not a friend of mine on Facebook, don't worry. All you have to do is join the Midnight Listeners group. That's Midnight Listeners, all one word. Put it in the search bar in Facebook, and then you can join up there. I do check that, and you can message me through that as well. Love to hear from you. And also, of course, if you are listening to us for the first time on YouTube, make sure that you go down and you hit that ever most important button called subscribe. That's right. That's how we grow our channel. And of course, we are on Twitter as well. You can send a private message to me by typing in TMO host, and also my Twitter handle is at the MN Ocean, OCEAN, for those who have a hard time spelling, like me. I'm one of those people. I remember when I was going through school, spelling was not one of my fortes. But you know what? I was the first kid to actually have a processor software called WordStar. There you go. Let's just date ourselves here for a little while. But when I was in high school having to write papers, I had an unfair advantage. I had WordStar. And also the secretary for the English department at the university lived right next door. And she was more than willing to help. Hey, you gotta get help where you can and when you can. But enough of that. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest tonight. Laurie McDonald is a clinical hypnotherapist. An abduction researcher is one of the 27 regression therapists listed on the MUFON mental health referral list for abduction regression. I am sure we're going to be talking a lot about abduction regression. She and is a consultant to a research committee, FREE, the Edgar Mitchel Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. And joining us all the way from the East Coast, may I introduce everybody, my audience, and to Laurie McDonald. Laurie, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you taking time out of your Friday evening to join us. That's precious. Those are precious moments. So thank you very much.
Glad to be here.
And so, I mean, I have so many. Where do I start? You know, let's start. I guess this is a question that I've always had about clinical, hypnotherapists. Let's just start right at the beginning. And I'm going to hit you with a hard one because I've always said, if I ever get one on the show and stuff, I'm just going to ask them this. When someone believes something in their heart as truthful, Can that come through the sessions? I'm coming right off the bat because, I mean, does that come through, or is the hypnotherapist kind of like a way of saying, hey, we can actually use this to separate fact from fiction?
Well, people don't generally lie under hypnosis.
Okay.
And so when they feel that they really believe something in their heart, that reality exists to them. Whether it happened in actuality within the physical world can still be determined at a later point in the session. But going in, and their intention is this experience happened and they believe it with all their heart, that makes it real. And I'll tell you why. The subconscious mind is non-critical, non-judgmental. It doesn't have the ability to determine truth from false, right from wrong. It just accepts and receives information. So the heart energy, the cardio-electromagnetic energy, being the strongest energy in the universe, when the heart tells you something is true, the subconscious mind receives this as a truth. So is it real? Yes, it's real.
See, I always wanted, like I said, that's something, because lying is a cognitive I mean, that's a cognitive process. And when
that's
people,
right.
And when people are under hypnotic state, that process, that filter's not there anymore, because you
ideally, that's absolutely correct.
Okay.
The conscious critical mind is turned way down and the subconscious mind becomes open and receptive, and you're moving into a different brain wave. So you're operating at a different frequency. So taking you out of that thoughtful cognitive mind where you have to think up, the next
lie.
Reasoning. Yeah. The next reasonable lie to go with your lie. Right?
Yeah. I've always, like I said, and I do apologize. Normally, when I get guests on the show, I don't hit them hard.
I can take it.
First question. Well, I knew you could. That's why I asked you. And I know, because I've listened to some of your other shows and, where you've been on the air. And that is a question that's always bugged me about, I just wanted to ask that because, like I said, is that if a person believes, like if I'm a narcissistic person, right? And I am absorbed in myself. If I create things over and over and over again in my mind, and I say, pathological, I guess it would be pathological is the word I want to use. Mm-hmm. Does that carry over into the subconscious? But like I said, that pathology, that pathological component, that's a conscious effort. That's not a subconscious, or is it a subconscious effort?
Well, I think it's a true sickness. And it's a true illness. And I think that hypnotherapists can determine during the intake interview if they're dealing with somebody who's suffering from some level of psychosis.
Cool.
We have pretty extensive intake interviews. We have a great line of questioning, and it helps us reasonably determine, like for instance, when people are coming to me because they hear voices, we could assume that they're schizophrenic. We might want to look at ruling out auditory hallucinations. We have to look to the paranormal. We have to open these doors. And because, the world we live in is changing, there seems to be a lot more esoteric and paranormal activity. People are experiencing it. It's creating its own unique set of stresses. And they don't really know how to deal with such phenomena because it's not generally within their belief system. So
correct.
They hit that paradigm of thought, and they really don't know what to do next. Got to start thinking outside of the box. So, hypnotherapy is a fantastic tool for regression work, going back for things such as abduction. But obviously, it's extraordinarily useful for other areas of the life to help create stable foundation, balance, so that you can have healthy relationships.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm experiencing that transformation right now as I do more and more of these shows, and I'm being, enlightened, I guess is the word. To the other universe and the multiverse and different worlds and different belief systems. And I had it was the strangest thing today as I was walking down my hall. And of course, I'm checking my blood pressure, checking my blood sugar. I'm not diabetic or anything, but I'm checking because I actually, the room or the hallway that I turned in like a Matrix-like look for me. It was weird. It was the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced. And it was just, and I think it's because I'm opening up my conscious, my mind to more of the world around me than just, just being walls. And it's crazy. And
I really see so much more of that. People coming to me and saying, I was driving down the highway and everything was normal. And looked out at the sky and I saw like a glitch, a pixelation. And for a moment, I wasn't sure what was happening. But as things are progressing, as we talk about other worlds and other dimensions, people are literally suffering from the Mandela effect. Mm-hmm. And that seems like it's quite real, because I've talked to people who have different shared memories, and both of them are actually, this is the disconcerting part for whoever's responsible for this phenomena, is that people remember when it changed. They remember questioning and going, hey, when did, say, Sex in the City change to Sex and the City? And why would they do that? So there's people that remember it going from one to the other, not just people in two camps where they would be clearly creating a division among people.
Okay. So hold on. You threw me a curveball. Number one. All
right.
Now you're throwing them back at me. So the first thing is let's explain, if you can, real quickly, and we are going to get someone that's actually an expert in the Mandela effect. Can you explain to our audience what that is? Because believe it or not, we have a lot of listeners who are coming over who have never experienced the alternative or the non-mainstream concepts that we give out on this show.
Okay, well, I don't profess to be an expert in the Mandela effect, but this is what I've come to understand, that CERN created a tear or a rip in the fabric of reality, and that there actually are parallel universes, parallel dimensions. Problem with creating a hole in a parallel dimension is that their timeline and our timeline should be separate frequencies. Mm-hmm. They should be very similar, but we should have a separate frequency. And if there's a tear or a bump per se, then things change in each timeline and confusion can set in. So this becomes a real stressor in the mind and body. Problem is there is actual empirical or physical evidence to support certain changes. For instance, a lot of people remember Oscar Mayer hot dogs, and it was the song, my hot dog has a first name.
It's L-A-Y.
Second name, it's M-E-Y-E-R.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. It was Oscar Mayer. And hey, that's how I learned how to spell bologna, B-O-L-O-G-N-A. Anyway, those commercials back from the day. And so I clearly remember Oscar Mayer, but now history tells us that it was always Oscar Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R. But we know that name, John Mayer, the musician, that's pronounced Mayer, and that particular spelling says Mayer, not Meyer. And so, but they're going, no, it was always that you're misremembering. Well, first off, I don't doubt myself.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not misremembering. And this is where they didn't count. People are hoarders. They have all these old newspapers that have the grocery store sale inserts. And so when products go on sale, they go on sale like week after week at the different stores. So one week it might be Safeway, and the next week it might be, the Piggly Wiggly. So anyway, apparently the Oscar Mayer, M-E-Y-E-R, hot dogs went on sale. And every advertising company for each individual grocery store chain apparently spelled it wrong, according to history, because they all spelled it M-E-Y-E-R, and history says, oh no, it was never that. So this creates a confusion in people, and they really aren't sure what to do, but it's not just the simple things like the Bernstein versus the Bernstein Bears. And I will, for the record, definitely recall reading Bernstein Bears to my kids, and I think I have an incredibly good memory, and I don't have that self-doubt that, oh, I must be mistaken. But then, like I said, they're gathering evidence. The important line in the Forrest Gump movie, Mama always said life is like a box of chocolates, has changed. But somebody back in the day was doing some type of homework or created a thesis regarding the movie and the cultural implications of Forrest Gump or whatever it was. And they actually had that clip, and it says exactly what everybody remembers, these iconic sayings. And so we have this change, and we're right in the flux stage, because you can pull up the Emmy Awards, and David Letterman is, announcing Sarah Jessica Parker for Sex in the City. Yeah. So and so. And so, but then they said it never existed. So what is one to do?
Now, wait a minute. Now, look.
That's the Mandela effect.
Well, and that was going to be the second curveball you threw at me, because I will tell you, and I'm not bashful, I loved Sex in the City. It was a popcorn night for me. I loved that show. It was incredible, and I'm sure I'm going to catch flack from all my buddies out there. But I don't care.
Hey, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I loved that show, and I was sad. I was sad when it went off the air. Now, I haven't seen the movies, because I think it got commercial. At that point, it became commercialized. That one and the Gilmore Girls. That was the other. I love the Gilmore Girls. And Family. Let's go down the list of all the great shows that I was sad at when, but it was always sex. It's Sex in the City. Now they're saying now it's Sex and the City.
And it never was in the city. So there's some huge things that create this. What? That's not how I remember it. They must have changed it. So of course, all good researchers do their research, and the record shows no, it was never changed. And so that, and the one that, this is the movie's iconic lines, so on and so forth, brand names. But the one that kind of made me scratch my head was, of course, the Lord's Prayer in the Bible in Luke, when it changed from, Our Father, hallowed be thy name, on kingdom come, thy will be done. It went from on earth as it is in heaven to in earth as it is in heaven. Well, I was so shocked by that when I heard it. And of course, I checked my family Bible, and how did those words change? I had to read that when I was a kid. I had to have it memorized. I know the words. So this is what I did. I created a journal, and I made a note, and I put it inside the family Bible that I observed a change in the Lord's Prayer in September of 2016. And this is the two observations where I noted. And so there are, and of course I'm creating my own timeline. And so what does this tell me? Did I always know there were parallel universes? Why, yes, I did. Physics explains the building blocks of the universe. Mm-hmm. You can understand quantum physics, quantum possibilities. So you can understand there's multiple dimensions. Yeah, yes. But should they be bleeding through and changing timelines? Well, therein lies the manipulation. And where might that manipulation come from? One can only assume the extraterrestrial parasitic archons.
Wow. See, I never, that is insane. I never really, maybe it's just that I kind of detached myself so much from mainstream media that I didn't catch it, or are so self-absorbed in other things that I didn't see this change. But now that you pointed out, I'm definitely it's kind of like buying the car, when you go out and buy a car, I call it the new car effect. You go out and you buy a car, and then you're driving,
see it everywhere.
And then you see the car everywhere.
Yeah, it's the reticular brain activation. And so, yes, that's because it's highlighted in the conscious mind. Yeah. And so they begin to stand out because that's what your attention was on. Yeah. So that one we understand. But when we look at things like the Mandela effect, this is pushing our understanding and comfort zone and beliefs about reality and consciousness. It's making one think, are we possibly in a controlled holographic universe, or is it something closer to the Matrix? we see that in the third dimensional world of virtual reality. Those things are really enhancing. You've got people running all over the place trying to catch a Pokemon and getting hit by trains and so forth.
Yeah.
Because the two worlds are blurring their virtual reality and in their phone, and they're running around down real streets in front of real cars. I mean, so I suspect that that's connected somehow.
Yeah. It's great. Well, did you not hear the latest game that's out there? I'm not going to download it because I don't mess with things I don't like messing with. But apparently you can download this a new game that you can download and put on your phone where your house is haunted. Where you will be walking, like you walk with your phone down your house and eyes will appear. Your furniture will move across the floor.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, now you're pushing it. Now you're pushing the boundaries and you're starting to invite. I mean, even I know tonight we're up against the official season 1 launch of The Exorcist, right? That's what's on tonight here in Florida, and I refuse to even watch that because I'm a firm believer you don't want to invite those things in your house, knowing what I know.
Yeah, and it's not just inviting them. It's bigger than that. Yeah. It's attention, it's energy, it's focus.
Right. That's right.
Just like that reticular activator when you've got that new car.
That's right.
So if you start to feed that energy into that, then you're going to have those types of manifestations, or at least open the door. And let me tell you, sure, they'll push it through, because I have seen, unfortunately, people who feel that they're having some type of initially extraterrestrial contact, and they think it's amazing that they hear this voice and it says it's extraterrestrial, and only through a hypnotic regression do we find that, that's not an ET at all.
Yeah.
Demons pretend to be extraterrestrials. And so people have to be very careful. On one hand, it's good to see that they're open-minded, open heart, that they want to have some type of a beautiful contact with, say, our cosmic brothers. But on the other hand, when you go running around into these areas without educating yourself,
that's right,
and you think and believe, everything that is happening is real or true, then you're easily are deceived and manipulated. Your energy is misused. And I don't know why they want to do that, but it does happen. I've seen people, they just crave a UFO experience. They want contact so bad, and they just over-emote about it. And I'm thinking, wow, that type of energy, when they're not even being specific what they're asking for, they're just going to take anything. And therein lies the danger.
Yeah. Yeah, because that void will be filled. And
that's right.
And everything. But that was one of the concerns that I have is I want to take charters out, take people out in the Gulf, and let them with the IR lenses and the night vision goggles look up into the sky and see the things that are flying around up there. It will definitely, sometimes I'd say we get about a 10% success rate, to be honest with you. I get about 10% of the time. So 100 trips, about 10 of the trips, we see things that you can't explain, flying up there that I can't explain. And I was a former pilot, civil pilot. And like I said, I know how airplanes fly, and my dad, I was born and raised in the military and Air Force bases. So I know how military jets fly. And so I can pretty much discern the difference between all of them. But there are some where you go, whoa, I can't explain that one. We're going to have to let that one go. But it is concerning, because then the next thing is that here you are 100 miles out in the Gulf. Who's to say that they don't come down and give you a closer look? And that could be dangerous. Yeah,
there is a lot out there. I don't want people to feel major apprehension or anything. No. But the truth is, we live on a planet of duality. Yeah. There is dark and light, good and bad, male, female, and so forth.
Yep.
And so we have to expect that. We have to educate ourselves and understand that we are living in historic times where we're in the ascension process. We're moving into what looks like a higher frequency. Scientists tell us that the universe is expanding,
Yes.
that it is in fact growing. And so with that comes a frequency.
Yep, absolutely. And actually with that comes a break. So we'll take a break and we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. But we're talking with our very special guest, Laurie McDonald. It was awesome. Another one. She answered my question right off the bat. I always wondered about that. And she gave me the answer that I was hoping to hear. Not the one that I expected to hear, but what I was hoping to hear. And that's always a good thing. But we'll be back in a few minutes. I promise we are going to get into some of her clinical hypnotherapist work and also her work with MUFON and Extraterrestrial Encounters and abduction research.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, you are listening to the Midnight Ocean radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live here every weeknight from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook. I'm not asking too much. Just put in our name, The Midnight Ocean, there on Facebook. Now, I created another page because I see a lot of you guys trying to friend me, and I do want to be friends with you. But the friend page that you guys are trying to friend me on is my True Friends and Family page. Not saying that I don't want to share that with you. So I did create another page, and you should get requests from that one. I'll just forward the requests you send me on my personal page over to that page. And I do check it, so don't think I'm not going to check it. It's just, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, some things just need to be private and stuff. So please understand that. And also, of course, on Twitter at the MN Ocean. That's the MN Ocean is our Twitter handle, and you can send me messages there. I am probably one of the most accessible radio podcasters. Send me a message. I'll reply. I'll get back to you. Even if it is inappropriate, I'll still get back to you. You might not like what I send back, but I promise you, I will talk with you. I don't have a problem with that. So without further ado, though, let's bring back our guest before we were so rudely interrupted by that commercial break, Laurie McDonald. Laurie, I just have to say your name. Thank you so much. I am horrible with names. Now, I can say your name because it's my favorite restaurant. I love McDonald's. As you can tell, if you're watching on video, stuff that's bad, but it is so that's what ruined me. That's why I could never do the radio business, because everywhere I went, it wasn't like a rock and roll station where I was like Led Zeppelin or AC/DC. It was always some French jazz, quartet or classic music. And there's no way that I could remember those or even pronounce those names.
Well, it's not the calories so much in that McDonald's foods. It's that it's overly processed using genetically modified organisms that are nutritionally deficient.
You know what, though? A lot of people will be proud of me. I don't think I've had a McDonald's in about 2 weeks. So I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. Because if you want a hamburger, just make one.
Yeah. There's nothing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's nothing better than a grilled hamburger, a real grilled hamburger. Yeah.
Control the ingredients.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I find that it's low here in the United States. I don't know how it is I do know how it's in Europe because I travel abroad, and I will I call people and I'm like, oh my God, this hamburger was incredible. It was completely different than what we have here in the States. I just think that there's poison.
Even Canada. I was in Canada last month. Mm-hmm. The chicken tasted different, fresher, the milk, all of those things. Yeah. And even I noticed when I come back and you see the meat in the grocery store, it has this like iridescent hue to it.
Yeah, the pink slime or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Now,
not quite sure what's going on with that.
Now, I got to ask, when you were in Canada, did you happen to stop by my favorite coffee shop? Tim Hortons?
I did.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, here we go. And I've got, for all those out there in YouTube land, I've got my official Tim Hortons mug, and they are an unofficial sponsor of this show. I buy their product. They don't send it to me. I buy their product. But it's what keeps me awake at night. So. Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah, no, I went through, I drank their coffee and I ordered their donuts.
And a Danish. I always say, if you're within 500 miles of a Tim Hortons, go out of the way, go up there, get yourself a cup of coffee and a Danish. It's well worth it.
That's right.
No, there's just something about it. It's funny. I don't think they appreciate the fact that I call it the best, cheapest coffee you'll ever drink. But it is. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
It is.
So, well, enough of that. Let's move on. So clinical hypnotherapy. So you actually work with a wide range. I mean, obviously you're on MUFON's list, and we're going to get into the alien abduction work and all of that. But you work as a clinical hypnotherapist. You do a lot of your practice. You deal with a lot of issues, correct?
I absolutely do. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything from anxiety, stress, weight management, self-esteem, nail biting, cigarette smoking, addiction, sleeping issues.
Wow. Now, do you put like a thought in all right. So here, I'll use me as an example. I'm the guinea pig.
Okay.
And I'm a big guy. I love to eat, as you probably gathered. I know I eat when I'm tired. I know all the stressors. I know when I eat, I know when I eat when I'm tired and when I'm under stress. So, there's no news there. No news. So I would come to you and say, look, I binge eat. I do. I will sit down and I'll do my daily calorie intake all at once. And then the rest of the day, believe it or not, I don't eat anything. I'll go 3 or 4 days doing that, where I'll eat like a big meal, but only one meal, or I'll eat late at night after the show or something like that. So how can your services help a guy like me?
Well, depending on what your goal is, you're going to come to me with a goal and I'm going to help you reach that goal. Mm-hmm. So if you want to eat healthier, more balanced meals, then what we would do is create that desire inside. And then I like to layer it in the consciousness, such as, so if it's an eating thing, eating feels good. It's comfort. Okay. So the triggers, but so a lot of people, the emotional eaters, it's so they know the trigger, but if they're stuffing down their feelings through food, then we have to have a look at the feelings. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what is it that you feel that you can't say?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Stress. It's just, the day-to-day operation. So I have this show here, but I've always had a stressful life in the sense that, cause I'm a consultant. I work for myself. And in my industry, a lot of it's gone overseas and it goes back and forth. So that stress of where am I going to get my next paycheck?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what I would work on then is I would eliminate feelings of scarcity.
Okay.
I would assure you and remind you of your personal power. I would remind you that you've made it this far, that you've always been able to keep a roof over your head, mm-hmm. food on the table, that you have capabilities, and that when we can let go of feelings of scarcity, we become filled with gratitude. Mm-hmm. For what we do put into our body. We become more aware of the body. It's a mind-body connection. And hey, your body serves you well. It keeps you going. It supports you through everything you do. So should you stuff it and create a taxation on the digestive system, pushing it too hard, not giving it enough sleep? So now we're getting back to taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself. So now I'd be connecting your desire to take good care of yourself because you're worthy of that. That's your human right. Mm-hmm. And so now when you would be selecting foods, you're going to select foods that satiate you and make you feel satisfied. So we're going to nourish and nurture the mind and body. The body is going to receive the nourishment that it needs so that all of the cells can continue to do their work. And you're going to feel good about what you selected and pride, actually. You feel proud of the ability to self-correct and begin to see the body for what it is. We are a mind body. This is not a solo act here. And we have to have a lot more respect for the body, a lot more appreciation, and don't be so hard on it. And I mean, on all kinds of ways. Don't look in the mirror and go, "Ooh, you're so big. You're so fat. If you were this or that." I say, love what you see, accept it. And as soon as you accept it, all of the energy systems begin to relax. Feel for it. Feel for the plight that would make you this or that. Give yourself the nurturing to understand the bigger picture. And then the mind and body become on the same page. And we naturally, easily move into a healthy, stronger, more vital body.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and so, no, I'm sitting there listening to you going, all right, I'm trying to put this into my brain.
Are you hypnotized?
I'm trying to put it into my, no, I'm trying to, all right, let me fade. I'm trying to get cheap therapy here. I created a podcast for 4 hours every night so I can get cheap therapy for my guests. And I get it. So the process, all right. So everything you said makes perfect sense, right? I get it. I'm there. So, but the problem is that whole thing that I think everybody has. It's called execution and follow through. So what would now be the next process? So we've identified what we need to address. So I come to, what would be the next process? And,
is now we create a new behavior.
Okay.
And so we begin to create a new neural pathway of the new desired behavior. The subconscious mind loves repetition. So the subconscious mind loves repetition. So you continue to feed it, plant the positive seeds, and they will unfold, bringing you to your desired effect. For some people, smoking, one guy, he was awesome. I tried to, do like a little 3 sessions. At the end of 3 sessions, he'd be smoke free. And he came into the second session and I said, how did you do? And he said, I didn't smoke. I couldn't smoke. I couldn't even bend my arm to reach for a cigarette until last night. I said, well, what happened last night? And he said, well, I began to become fearful that you had so much control over my mind that I couldn't bend my arm. And I said, oh, well, hang on here. No, you came to me and I didn't go seek you out and hypnotize you behind your back. So there's no control. What I give people is their own power back. They control it. That was his mind controlling it. And so when he had a deeper understanding of how the process worked, he's obviously smoke free. So the desire, this is the key word. The desire is there. So when we're talking execution, there's no question. You're not pushing yourself. Yeah. It's natural. It's easy. It's now the way you believe. The belief system is changed and you are thinking and acting to your higher mind, fulfilling your own natural desires. So, of course, if you came to me and you're 30 pounds overweight and you don't care and you're happy like that, then excellent.
Yeah.
No problem, right? So my point is, why, would you come? Is somebody else wanting you to lose the weight? Where is these feelings of not being satisfied with the way you look? Are you maybe, if you can't tie your shoe or if that's uncomfortable, there's a motivator. Yeah. It depends. So, but it has to be from your own heart. Yeah. You have to be willing. You can't send somebody else. You can't say, hey, you can't send your spouse and say, I'm going to send you to go to stop smoking. It's not going to work because that's not their desire.
Gotcha. No. I mean, I'm definitely more than 30 pounds, but my desire, this is really crazy. And a lot of people give me flack for this. My desire to lose the weight now is because I have this radio show and I think that I have to stick around. I'm being told that we have a message to get out there. And I now, instead of thinking, oh, well, I kicked the bucket. Now it's like, well, wait, I've got a contract. I gotta see this through. I gotta see this project.
Well, it's also, I matter. Mm-hmm. I'm important. I have value. Mm-hmm. I'm worth saving.
See, that's great. See, I don't think like that. I'm just thinking the business side of it.
Yeah, well, after a couple of sessions.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to fly out to California. Maybe you can work on me.
I do Skype sessions.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so then my next question is when I think of hypnotherapy, now do you put like, all right, so I love McDonald's, right? The quarter pounder. So do you put imagery in people's heads, or I don't want to say put, but do you suggest that, is it kind of like,
I can do aversion therapy. Absolutely.
Is that what it is? Where people, when they see the aversion.
Yeah. And they're like, ew.
Ooh, I don't want to see. Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're like, ugh. They'll remember that advertising where somebody opened up the bun and there's like maggots crawling out of the hamburger. Hey, I read it online, so it must be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's aversion therapy. So it's disgusting to you.
And that's, I know that works for like cigarette smokers and
it just works.
It just works. So oh, wow. Well,
right.
We'll have to hook up on Skype. I'm a guinea pig. I've always said, look, I want my guests to be truthful and honest with me. And so I'm truthful and honest with my guests. And I don't have a problem saying, hey, look, I mean, last night's show, it was crazy. We had an alpha numerologist on. Mm-hmm. And oh my God. And I had family members. So everybody that's out there listening, I had family members listening to the show who know me intimately and said that dude hit it right on the head. I mean, they were just perplexed, the fact that he called it out straight out. And we got, of course he was doing all the good things about me. And I said, no, let's do the evil stuff. Let's talk about the things that people don't want to talk. And he's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I do. And because that's going to tell me I know my deepest, darkest secrets. No one else really knows them. And sure enough, man, he hit them. We
live in a mathematical universe.
Yeah. No,
everything is a number.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was insane. So
it is. It's very fascinating.
Mm-hmm. But, so let's get back to the hypno. So you can do all sorts of, now, obviously you deal with trauma as well. People that have been traumatized one way.
Right. Post-abduction, stress disorder, and PTSD.
Okay. So with the trauma, now, obviously that is a completely different process, or is it kind of like the same process? I mean, here you're trying to dig out, right?
If you're suffering from a post-traumatic stress disorder, why. Maybe your house burned down, maybe your spouse left you, maybe you were traumatized in a war that you were sent to that you didn't believe in, and you had to kill somebody, and that's against your belief system to take another life, and you did it anyway. So you've got all this trauma, but you can put your finger on it. But if you're suffering from post-abduction syndrome and you're experiencing that trauma and you're not really remembering the details clearly, or is it crazy to tell people, well, you actually think you're abducted? That's why you're freaking out. Well, there adds an additional layer of stress because you now have got fear in expressing your truth. So it definitely is layered. It's a harder stress to identify, but people suffer.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to get to the abduction here in a little bit. I want to kind of ease into the easy. Well, it's probably all easy for you, but for our audience to understand the process. So like PTSD, I'm a firm believer that I think we're all walking around with a form of PTSD. And the reason being is the internet has exposed us to things that we were just not intended to see as human beings. When I was younger, I worked in an emergency room. That's when I was going to college. I started out as a phlebotomist and an ER tech. I've had a lot of jobs trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life, right? And you see things in the hospital that just stick with, to this day, they still stick with me in my mind and when I close my eyes and everything. But now you can go on the internet and you can see people chop. I mean, that's the fear that I have for my children and my grandchildren is there is no censorship anymore. There is no filters. And when you see a person's head being chopped off, that is ingrained in your brain forever. And I know a lot of young people out there and go through the internet, they watch that stuff. And I mean, are you starting to see the effects of that in some of your clientele?
Well, the highly violent video games and real clips of violence has desensitized a generation of our young people. Mm-hmm. What it has made them are very good jet pilots. It's made them very good in virtual combat.
Yeah.
But yes, many people are desensitized, and the people who aren't desensitized can experience trauma from seeing something that is shocking. Mm-hmm. But just so you know, the belief system, when it receives information that's out of, that is extremely beautiful beyond words that they can articulate, something that's moved them so much, they actually also experience somewhat of a shock, because both things have pushed you to the edge. Oh. And the edge is the edge where you just don't have the answers, whether the experience is, seemingly beautiful or extremely negative. The physical manifestation in the body and in the mind of stress and so forth is identical. Yeah, fear is fear. I mean, this is a deal. Okay, say you're all alone at night and you're in your house and you're vulnerable. Maybe you're out in the woods and you hear a sound. You don't know what it is, but it's definitely something's coming in.
Yeah.
Well, your heart rate is going to start beating. You might sweat a little. You might experience a dry mouth, and you are fearful. Okay, that's a scenario of fear. Mm-hmm. Now say you're with a bunch of thrill seekers and you're on the edge of a cliff and you're the next person who gets to jump off. Guess what? Heart's racing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Mouth becomes dry. Palms are sweaty. The exact same physiological effects in the body. So again, fear is fear. Trauma is trauma. And sometimes, whether it should be an exciting fear or a terrifying, horrific fear, it still registers the same. Uh-huh. So we have to really understand bigger things as fear, as opposed to just this, of course, seeing somebody beheaded. When you're seeing it on the internet, it is still, or on TV even, it's still at arm's length. You're still a little bit detached. You're not hearing it, smelling it, hearing the head hit the ground or whatever other sensory input would be associated with being in the moment. Because as you know, when you're in the moment of that, everything is amped up. Sometimes it's technicolor and it's slowed down so Correct. You don't miss any details.
Yes.
Yeah, so the mind is an amazing thing.
Well,
Well,
it's important that you say that. That is one thing that is missing, because when I experience the things in the ER, I still get those smells. I still get the audio. I still get the visual, when you see things come in.
And that's right. Any one of those senses are going to be a trigger. Yeah. If you might be walking somewhere and smell whatever it was, and all of a sudden now your mind is flooded.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one thing that I will not do is put on the VR goggles. I know I have a lot of friends in technology that wear the 3D goggles, and they play the new video games now. And they're like, Jeff, you got to try. And it's like, no, why? No. I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort, getting those images out of my head. Why would I want to put them back in?
Yeah. And again, it's a way to desensitize people, but also keep us, disconnected from reality.
Sure.
People take off those things, put down the iPhones and the video games, and go outside and ride your bike or swim in the river, go for a walk, play a little.
Yeah, no, one of the best investments we made is we put in the pool. Now I spend an hour a day in the pool just sitting there, looking up at the sky and looking at the cloud. I don't think I've looked at the sky as much as I have in the last month or so.
It's really great to float and look at the sky.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And, and it does marvelous work on the psyche and everything. So with that, we've got another break. Gosh, I hate these commercials, but this is unfortunately how we pay our bills around here. So we're going to take a quick break. And for those that are listening in the chat room, get your questions queued up. We are definitely going to talk, Laurie, when we get back, we're going to talk about some alien abductions and such things. So you're listening to the Midnight Ocean radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. We have a very special guest, Laurie McDonald, is joining us. She is a clinical hypnotherapist and an abduction researcher. And she does a regression therapy. She's listed with MUFON. Works with those individuals who have had alien encounters. We'll be back in a few.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and podcast. Join us live every Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. Well, we had some smooth sailing. We're going to get a little bit more treacherous water. Not too bad, though, with our guest, Laurie McDonald, is joining us all the way from the great state. Well, I'll just say East Coast. I'll just say the East Coast. Leave it at that. And also, Laurie, I want to make sure that you know that we actually, for all of those that are out there listening, if you would like to retain Laurie's services, we do have a link. If you go out to the midnightocean.com's website and go to tonight's guest, Laurie McDonald, you'll see it. Go there and you will actually have a link to her group out in California. So Laurie, as promised, without further ado, because I know everybody's chomping at the bit, they don't want to hear about my issues and they don't want to hear about PTSD and stuff. They want to hear about the alien abduction. I think that's what they signed up for. And so we've given them a great opening act. And now I guess let's get into the main. So are you finding, and I think I already know the answer because you were saying that you're seeing more and more of this. Are you finding more and more people coming to you for their service? Where they and how do they present? In other words, how, you know what that term is, but the listeners might not know what that is. I mean, how are they come? Do they come out and say, "I think I was abducted. I lost time. I was driving on a highway and I woke up." Next thing I did, you know, how do most of your alien abductee patients present to you?
Well, it's completely varied. Okay. I've literally heard thousands of firsthand encounters of extraterrestrial abduction, and the word abduction is obviously against one's will. Some of these people are quite terrified. The women who might come to me, their experiences maybe were in the 80s, the early 90s, and they were absolutely, completely terrified. And here we're looking at people having their genetics harvested, women having ovum harvested, men having sperm harvested, and we're assuming for a alien hybrid integration program onto the planet. So then I see people who come and they feel that the extraterrestrials are here to benefit them, and they have full-blown relationships with them where they have eye-to-eye contact. They're taken aboard crafts where they carry out duties. They have jobs. They work. They say they work with the tall whites. Now, other people have had horrifying experiences with who they refer to as the reptilians. Now, I'm also the founder and the facilitator of the Sacramento Alien Abduction and Contactee Support Group, and that's a very large group. I have about 150 official members and many more unofficial members, and I hold a monthly meeting. And people come and they talk about their stories, they share their experiences, and we try to figure out exactly what's going on. We have other people who are just saying that what's happening to them is that they are receiving downloads or streams of information are just coming into their mind, and it's full impact emotionally. There's nothing they can do to stop it. It's not an abduction, but it is sort of a consciousness hijacking because they can't stop it. So they're showing images of events, or they're given instructions on what to do. So children say that the extraterrestrials tell them that we're your real mom and dad. And this really bothers me because it's creating dissension in the family and mistrust, insecurity in the child. It's splitting its affections. Sure. Absolutely inappropriate. So, and a huge violation of children's rights. And to me, it constitutes abuse. So these are crimes against humanity on a certain level. Body pieces harvested, children, taken, lied to, or are they lied to? Maybe. But if the extraterrestrials were in fact genetically responsible for the children, then they need to take a little bit of emotional responsibility and understand the human psyche. Or maybe they really do understand it. They know exactly what they're doing when they create this dissension in the child.
Now, and we talked about this in the first segment. I mean, how do you know that these are actually aliens and not demons, not demonic?
Some are demons.
Ah.
Sometimes they are demons. So
how do you dissect those? What is the process of, because an alien in a person's mind, it's a penetration, right? Into someone's mind, be it an alien or a demon. I mean, is there a characteristic that demons carry, like the reactions? Is there a versus an alien?
Well, demons lie, and they are highly intelligent, but they have zero emotional control. Emotions, E in math is energy in motion, and a demon is like a highly intelligent, really, really bad kid.
Yeah, okay.
And so if you're a good parent and you're capable of practicing the art of equanimity to be calm during chaos, which is what you need to be when you're dealing with a demon, no emotions at all. So when you can come from that state of equanimity and call them out, so to speak, they totally lose it. And there you go. It's a demon. An extraterrestrial wouldn't act that way. So, I've come across it, more times than I wished I've had.
Yeah. Now, when you have someone in therapy, like you're in a room with them and you put them under hypno and you're asking these questions and basically you trip, you trip the tripwire with a demon.
And I do it on purpose because I sense it or suspect it, or or my intuition tells me that what I'm hearing just doesn't settle right. It's not right. It's not right. I trust myself.
How does it, do these therapies ever get physical?
Yeah.
How do you protect yourself?
Well, I've been hit. I've been vomited on, had people freaking out, and I've had to restrain them.
Wow.
Physically restrain them. So yeah, I do what I can. It doesn't happen a lot. And I'm in an office building, in Midtown Sacramento. I'm in the Sacramento Complementary Medicine building, and there's other therapists and doctors in the building, and I'm, have a demon screaming in my office. So there's protocol. Got to make sure it's handled appropriately.
Yeah. So the listeners out there, I mean, you are part of a medical practice. So it's not like you just, hanging a shingle on the side of a house somewhere and going, come on in and I'll hypnotize you. You are affiliated and with a medical.
Yeah. The American Council of Hypnotist Examiners. I'm certified.
Sure.
And, I have a license. So. Yeah, a private practice. And in fact, been voted Sacramento's best of hypnotherapists 4 years running.
Wow. So when now I got to ask, because do you have clinical psychiatrists around you and in your facility?
No, just psychiatrists, In fact, I see psychologists and psychiatrists come to me all the time.
Do they?
But yeah, we have them. I have them right across the hall.
Okay. So they've seen
4 feet away.
They've seen this behavior firsthand then of some of your patients. I'm sure they probably hear the screaming and or did they go, oh yeah, she's doing another demon?
No, it's not that often, that they would say, oh no, not another one. But, and I would schedule what I call high risk sessions, off hours, later in the day after dinner time or on the weekend. I try to be conscientious of that. This is both beneficial to the person that I'm working with and the people around us. And I've had to call in help. I mean, I've asked Brett Luter, who's a ufologist, but he's also got more information in the study of demons than I do. And he's been to places, church in Yuba City here, where they do, exorcise them. Apparently, they remove the demons from the person. They do this quite often.
Wow.
So I have had him come in with the person's permission because they also suspect that it's a demon. You know, you're here. So I've had to ask for help because, you know, where do you study that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the Catholic Church.
Where do you study? Well, okay,
finally,
but they don't share.
But they don't share. You're absolutely right. I think the priest that did over 70,000 exorcisms, he just passed away last week or 2 weeks ago. And I know there's a priest in Ohio that specializes in it, but you're absolutely right. They don't share it. It's a Catholic, it's a Catholic for Catholics only kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
here I am, just a little hypnotherapist in Sacramento, and I have somebody coming in and I have to practice that equanimity. I have to have my intentions clear, and I certainly feel confident when I do it. But for some odd reason, Jeff, I am not afraid. I'm a very secure human. I understand the definition of human. Hu is an ancient word for light, although we use it today to measure the saturation of light. Yep. Man is short for manifestation. To be embodied, a human is a light embodied entity. So I know what I am. So when I'm in that situation, I know what I am, and I feel quite confident that anything of a lower astral energy,
there's no voids in you. You're filled, and there's no voids that they can get into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
Yeah. No, I get it. One of the, I am obviously fascinated by this topic and this subject, and especially dealing with demons. And I've been invited to do an exorcism, and I turned it down because I just said, nah, I don't, there's just some things, I'm fascinated by medicine, but I don't go see surgeries, right? I'll talk to surgeons. But yes. Hats off. I take my hat off. Hats off to you and your work, because I don't know if I'm ready at this point to sit in a room with someone who is actively possessed, and then you be able to pull that out. I'm glad that you feel safe and you feel secure in that. But
I got to tell you, I really actually feel that my job is a bit of a calling to me.
Sure.
That I feel that I'm in service to humanity, and that my integrity and intention has always been to serve the person's highest interests.
Yeah. Without, unfortunately, we're humans. Unfortunately, we're humans. Human nature and curiosity, and I know most of my listeners, what's really crazy about my listeners, a lot of them followed me over from my political days and my political podcasting. So this is a lot new. These are guys when I said, hey, have you ever listened to Art Bell? I was like, who's that? And it's crazy. So this is new to them. So I'm kind of bringing, the baby steps with these guys. I want to phrase this correctly. What is the most terrifying experience that you have ever had when you're dealing with a demon, where you went, holy smokes, and you're calling your friends? And have you ever had that? Where you
not with a demon.
not with a demon. Because
the Greys actually caught me off guard at one point.
Wow.
And I had my own personal, up close and personal, eye-to-eye, face-to-face contact with the Grey race. And at first I felt that I was psychologically prepared to deal with the situation. And then things changed.
So hold on. So let's back up. It's refreshing to hear you say that you're, with the demons, you're not too concerned, because I had Debbie Vigi on here, and she's the actual author of the Wicked series, but she's when she's not writing, New York best-selling time book, she's also a demonologist and an exorcist. And she said the trick with, and you said the same thing, be of light, right? You'll have that in your mind. The other thing too is just look at them and say, yeah, whatever. And you don't have control over me. You'll never have control over me.
I had really super smart kids, and sometimes they were really bad. So not that bad, not demonic, but you have to, you get to a point where you know how to deal with somebody, what words to say that resonate in them to create a different behavior. Yeah. And so I think any good parent can deal with demons.
Put the cross down.
That's right.
Put the,
stop eating the cat.
Stop eating the cat. I'm tired of your flame jokes and the candles and the
demons are predictable.
Yeah.
Okay. We understand their psyche. We understand their agenda. We understand what they're all about. Okay. So the fear factor has been removed. Now we just deal with what it is. Extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
We are still trying to determine the good from the bad, who are here to help, who are manipulative, since they have the ability to shapeshift. How do you know that the beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed, angelic one isn't just a reptile who shifted to appeal to your sense of beauty?
Well, and that's the part. We'll get to that right now. That's the part that I've been enlightened in the sense that I had a really good, I had Dr. Lloyd Auerbach was on here last Monday. He's a parapsychologist, and he hits it from the academic standpoint. And he made a very good statement, and it just hit home with me. He's like, you don't see anything. Vision is an interpretation of what your mind interprets. So you can, and from that, I started to do more research, and you can manipulate your vision through just using magnets. High-powered magnets will cause you to have tunnel vision and do certain things to you. And so this whole concept of shapeshifting, because I was like, shapeshift, yeah, whatever. I believe, because when he put it in that way, that vision is not vision in the sense that, I'm looking at my Tim Hortons coffee mug, best cheapest coffee you'll ever find. If you're within 500 miles, go out there. See, they put that in my head, but no, but what I'm actually looking at is my mind's interpretation of a Tim Hortons coffee cup, not, and he explained that to
Jeff, exactly. That's not just the vision.
Yeah.
It's our body is a vessel.
Yes.
We use our senses to interpret our environment through sound, through taste, through touch, through sight, everything. So everything is just an antenna to interpret. So our consciousness or reality becomes subjective. Yes. And when we begin to push the boundaries of reality and understand that we are living in a much more mystical, complicated world than we might have been led to believe.
Yes.
And that we have the opportunity to change our reality and therefore experience the ability to expand the consciousness, to expand that consciousness and move out so that you're actually vibrating a little bit higher, therefore receiving information from that next bandwidth of frequency that is beyond.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing too, is that, I started to research vision, the light spectrum. There's a huge, the light spectrum our vision spectrum is less than maybe 5% of the total spectrum out there. So there's other, you talk about phase shift, but I could see, I was a disbeliever in the sense of this whole reptilian disguise thing that everybody was talking about until I saw that video of the Secret Service agent. Did you? Everybody, I think, seen that one where the Secret Service, one of Obama's Secret Service, he actually transforms on the video. And for those that are out there listening, if you don't believe me, go Google YouTube and Google Secret Service reptilian. And you can watch the video. It is live, and they have it from different angles. And you can actually see this guy morph. And it is not an optical illusion because they got two different cameras on him. but no one in the crowd saw it. It's kind of like and in video, because video, it parses the frequency, because it uses, video's not like your eye, which has the cones and the receptors and all that. It's using, light, and they can apply filters to video that, and weed a lot of those what they call phase shifts. I do it in the studio here. If I have 2 or 3 microphones plugged into my studio, I do a phase shift on my microphones, which makes sure that each microphone is like a degree off from the other microphone, so they don't interfere with each other. And It's the same thing with these cameras. And that was insane. I mean, to watch that and with Lloyd's explanation that we really don't see in the sense that we think it's all interpretation.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very limited. Even when you look up at this night sky, for every star system or sun that you see, there's 3 or 4 more red dwarf planets that you can't see because they're moving out of our frequency range.
Yeah. Well, you do the infrared. That's the first thing that people say when they put on the IR lenses. Yeah. They're like, their faces, their mouths drop, and they're like, oh my God, I did not know there was that many stars. And I tell them, it's funny because I tell people, it's like, there are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on all of the earth. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay. And in the minute they put those which those are filters, those filter out and adjust. It's amazing. Now, you mentioned it. You came face to face with a gray? I mean, eye to eye?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Wow. Now, I have to add, now, was this during a session where they phased out and they?
No. This was during my own research. I had been very intrigued with the phenomena, of course, sure. And I had started to try to gather my own research and information. And so I set up some cameras on the outside of Sacramento here. And I'd go back periodically throughout the night to check on them, check the film, make sure everything was running. And, one night I was coming back, and it really felt like a orange, pretty large orb had been following me, kept moving right out of my vision as I would look into my rearview mirror. But I absolutely felt it was kind of playing cat and mouse with me. That aggravated me. Of course, I was a lot younger and didn't have this ability of equanimity then. Yeah. Hadn't been practicing as long. And so I, slammed the car into park, got out, and it was like, hey, don't, tail me.
Yeah.
If you want to do or say or see, come, right? And bring it. But nothing happened. So I got back in the car and went home. And by the time I got home, I was in the bedroom, sat down on the edge of the bed, and all of a sudden, it was like a dream state happened. And of course, all these years later, I know that they have the technology to manipulate our brain waves. They drop it between the theta and the beta wave and create the dream state. So we're not sure we're awake. So as this is happening to me, I hear and see this lovely violet silhouette, and they tell me, Laurie, and when I get my attention focused on them, they told me focus and control. And in that minute, my mind became sharpened and more alert, and that dream state faded away, and I became 100% lucid. And there, at arm's length away from me, were 2 grays with the big eyes, and I was very calm. And they looked at each other as if they spoke over my head. And in an instant, a taller one, about a foot taller than the 2 that were in front of me, moved closer into my personal space. And in its hands, it had like a needle about the width and length of a chopstick. And that freaked me out. There I knew I was in over my head. Nothing good was going to come of this. I became absolutely out of control with fear and fought for my life.
There you go. There you go. Wow, Laurie. But I don't want to take a break, but I have to. But we'll be back in 4 minutes because I want to continue this story and figure out. Obviously, you are with us. You are talking to us. I hope you're talking to us. But you're listening to the Midnight Ocean radio show and podcast. What would you do? Waking up or sitting on the edge of your bed and being put into a state, and then next thing you know, you're looking at two aliens, and then another alien comes out with a syringe. Oh my. You're listening to the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and podcast. We'll be back in a few minutes with our special guest, Laurie McDonald.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
music selection. Yeah, during that break, that song kind of reminded me of sitting in an elevator. I don't know about you guys. I had a flashback of sitting in the elevator, just kind of sitting there waiting for it to get to the top floor and then open up into a big white room. Oh, what I don't know about you, but I've got chills running down my spine. We're talking with our very special guest, Laurie McDonald, joining us. Telling us that demons are no problem. Demon, no big deal. Tell them to go clean their room. Go somewhere else. But it's the aliens and everything is the scary ones, which I would actually think it would be the opposite way around. So before we went on the break, Laurie, you were saying, so you had two aliens, and were they like the classic alien, the big eyes, the big head, what we see in mainstream or what's been depicted in mainstream?
Yes, they were.
And then you saw another one. Was he the same kind of big eyes, big head, just a foot taller?
Yeah, they're not exactly the same, no.
Okay.
The head is shaped differently, the taller grays, and they seem to have a much more flexible neck. I noted that because I kicked it. Okay. I threw a kick, and anyway, his neck seemed flexible.
Wow. So, they didn't speak. They were talking probably telepathically, correct?
Yeah, not to me. Okay. And in fact, that's when I became quite fear-based, is when I was asking them questions and they wouldn't speak with me, but it was the way they looked at each other that I knew they had communicated. And really, in a flash, quite literally in a flash, because there was a flash of white light, a taller gray being appeared, just business as usual, moved in to do its job. But wow. I was more lucid, I believe, than it was ready for. And I fought back and suffered a herniated abdominal muscle and had to go to the emergency and then eventually into surgery to have a mesh piece put there to hold the muscle in place.
So, all right. Alien. All right. So I'm gonna pull back. So two aliens sitting there looking at you with their alien eyes. Big alien shows up with a hypodermic needle.
Yeah, well, they were doing something to me that I believed was causing pain, and I was more in a dream state until I had kind of like a little interference of a higher being making me focus and control my mind. Yeah. In those moments where I became 100% lucid, just like I am right now. Right
now. And so you obviously fought back, kicked the Jesus out of alien.
Did my best.
Tall alien.
Then I whited out.
Wow.
And lost consciousness altogether.
And then you woke up
in severe pain with herniated abdominal muscle.
How do you? All right. So do you think you got that from kicking or fighting, or do you actually think?
I absolutely know I did.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I guess my next question is, they didn't cut you or anything, or didn't?
Well, not that I can speak to. I can only tell you what I think or feel and remember.
Any external marks? Any signs of restraint or anything like that?
Actually, I have, during that period of my initial investigations into the phenomena and ufology, this is what I end up experiencing, my own abduction. And, I didn't really talk about it. In fact, didn't share it with a lot of people, yet I was still... I don't even believe I was a hypnotherapist yet. It was just in the beginning, just when I started to become peaked in that area and started to begin training and so forth. And so, it almost was synchronistic. Like I had to experience it or something. But it certainly made me aware, because it doesn't matter how many stories you hear, how many books you read, when you experience it in a lucid state, you become very certain of your experience. And, listen, I had to think long and hard. I wanted to rule out things such as psychotronics, radionics, mind to skull, hallucinations, anything in those categories, because all are plausible possibilities because we have those types of technology.
Well, you walk in front of an MRI machine while it's operating, and the high resonant, it will mess with your vision. So I want to go back. So you had this abdominal tear. What did you tell you went to the emergency doctor?
I told him I had a nightmare. In fact, it was a nightmare.
What did they say? Okay.
Must have been quite the nightmare.
Yeah, because
generally people, you don't act out so much.
Sure.
But people do sleepwalk and toss and turn and so forth. And I told them I had a nightmare, and, they didn't question me.
Wow. How big was the tear? Do you remember?
Not precisely, but I do remember the pain.
Yeah. It was enough that they put a mesh in you, right? Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so I have a firsthand personal experience with this. And although I don't have lots of abduction stories, I have that very strong abduction experience. And, I began to really feel for people who go through that. And because I knew I wasn't crazy, I knew that I was telling the truth. And so I thought, how must other people feel? And, where do they go? What do they do? And where do they get help? I mean, does anybody really care? Because how convenient that they're put into a category of crazy and nobody listens to them, some tin hat wearers. And then the phenomena can continue to go on right in front of everybody because they're just going to deny it.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
How easy for them. We just make it so easy. So, we have to really do our homework. I say that there's more fear on a certain level when dealing with extraterrestrials as opposed to demons, because the demons are predictable.
Yeah. No,
extraterrestrials, we haven't really quite understand their full agenda or their psyche. And so what I created were 5 specific categories of extraterrestrial abduction experiencers, and I started to do my own research. I run the group. I work with people through MUFON Mental Health. I'm also on the board of directors for OPUS. And so all of a sudden, I can see patterns, and I begin to put pictures together. And I have a woman who has just recently agreed to work with me. Her name is Dominique, and she is like an amazing artist. And so she's going to work as a sketch artist so that she can draw what people experience. And I'm going to try to create a psychological profile so that we know what to expect and how to react if you do find yourself face to face, eye to eye with an extraterrestrial, whether it be a reptilian, a blue, a gray, a tall white, or a mantis being. We can understand the hive-mindedness of them. We can see that connection and how they work. We know that they're telepathic. We can see their hierarchy. We can understand their agenda. We see these indicators, and we can start to create a picture of what's happening here. And so we have to understand. So it's typical, natural for people. What they don't understand, they fear. So I'm trying to create some type of psychological profile, like the mantis, for instance. They absolutely can't stand to have sovereignty or individuality. The thought of that creates such loneliness and separation, despair for them, because they're so hive-minded. They are said that they can look into the eyes of a person and know everything about them, right down to their past lives. So I guess to the core of their soul. Mantis have this ability, but they're so interconnected with their hive-minded behavior. To be disconnected from that creates such stress and anxiety and fear. And so you exert to your individuality. and you become empowered in your humanness and your rights, and they just don't know what to do.
I mean, go ahead. Well, I guess my question is, so I'm sitting there and it's like, okay, I got your number. And you do that. I mean, it's kind of like the interrogator though. If you get into the interrogator's head, all you're going to do is really pee them off. Just trying to keep. Well, we have the
element of surprise because we're so greatly underestimated because humans don't recognize their own power. Most humans are very disempowered. They don't understand the divine creation of humanity and what that means to have a soul. And so there's an amazing power and strength when you know this. And so it's done in a way that you're calm but strong. You're basically asserting what and who you are. And this frightens them. I can't really say why, and I can't even say definitively that it'll work every time. I just am saying that these are indicators that we're beginning to see and put together. You know, how we can see that the short gray work with the tall gray, that the blues also work with the tall grays, that the mantis or the Tao or the verdant oversee them. So, and then we have, the other ones who are saying they're Pleiadian or Nordic or Syrian or Arcturian or now even Anunnaki. So we get all of these people claiming, I'm an Anunnaki or I'm a Pleiadian and this is my star family and this is what I resonate with. So they claim these stars or star people as their family. And I say, hang on, people. Put the brakes on. And when you claim something, the claim is another word for possess. And be careful with what you associate. You don't even know what you are, who you are, what your divine power allows you to do. We are great manifestors and amazing co-creators. And we can connect to the highest consciousness in the universe, a godlike energy, the most amazing thing. And people don't really get that. So, but then you're going to go throw all that away, give that away and say, oh no, I'm a Arcturian, when you don't know what they are for real. And you don't really understand the intentions of whatever one you're claiming or allowing to possess, come into your consciousness and speak to you telepathically. So we have to really make sure that we know what we're doing. We can't go running around helter-skelter. Oh, I want to be abducted by a UFO, or I'm a star seed. I'm this, I'm that. Right now, in this moment, most people are human beings. And that is a wonderful, beautiful thing, and it shouldn't be so grossly underestimated. So people need to understand their power before they give it away. In fact, part of True You Hypnotherapy, and also I work with Laura Eisenhower, who is a global alchemist, and Holly Cook, who is a shaman, and myself. We've created a small company called The Power of Three, and we create workshops to empower yourself so you can move through things and give people their power back. They don't even know they've been disempowered.
So there's different, you mentioned there's 5 types of alien abduction.
Well, for my specific research, I created 5 different ones, yes, so that it just made it easier because, I run this big group. I hear lots of different encounters. I see people. I get referrals. I have lots of requests from lots of people. And so, yes, I needed to be able to, in my own mind and within my own work, have categories and structure. So that, and then I began to see the commonalities.
So can you share those 5 types with us?
Well, there's the people who have the straight up abduction, which is, being abducted against your will.
Sure.
And then we have the group where people are, my lab, a military military laboratory abductees. And they are people who say they're abducted against their will, then they're re-abducted apparently by government agencies and put through the same process of moving into the subconscious mind with the intent to retrieve memory. So they are doubly victimized, so to speak. So then we also have people who are what I like to call integrated experiencers. And the integrated experiencer is the one who claims to talk to their extraterrestrials in person, face to face, and get taken upon craft where they work. And then there are those that are simply telepathic, and they are receiving downloads. So they're a contactee. And then the other category is very unique and quite rare. And it's the person who has the ability to move out of their own mind and body and connect or stream into the cosmic consciousness. They believe that they can tap into ecosystems of other stars. And then, so interesting, one that I've been working with comes back talking about these specific stars and entities and people. And over the last 2 years, I've been working with them, and now all of a sudden we see headlines in the newspapers that, in the scientific newspapers, that most likely there is life close to what humans look like in the red dwarf star systems and so forth. So,
sure.
So we've already got a contactee saying, yeah, I saw them, talked to them, very beautiful people, so forth.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Right. So all of the different categories, have different energy.
Sure.
And so and then of course their experiences would be with different extraterrestrials. The after effects, results, or ramifications of such encounters that became, similar. Funny was seeing that the abductees craving citrus, all of them having huge cravings for citrus, oranges, and lemons and citrus fruit, eating 4, 5, 6 tangerines in a row because they just can't get enough. And so I think, well, what is that? That's an indicator of a vitamin C deficiency, and vitamin C deficiency could possibly be an indicator of an immune issue. And then so now I'm looking, do people who have extraterrestrial experiences suffer any autoimmune illnesses? And yes, they do. So what does it mean? I'm not quite sure. I'm just researching.
That's amazing. Yeah, okay. I love my citrus, and I have an autoimmune deficiency issue.
Oh, is that right? Wow, they're okay.
Yeah, but
okay,
I don't.
So that tells me that it could mean something else in addition.
Yeah, well, it could be that they could be tied together, anyways. Because the vitamin C, like you said, does help your immunity, and one doesn't necessarily. I can honestly tell you with a straight face. When a person is abducted, do they know? I mean, do they come to you and say, "Look, something's just not right"? Because I can tell you straight face, I've never been abducted.
No, sometimes they suspect it. They have glimpses of memory, or they dream a lot about being on a UFO or seeing UFOs. They dream a lot about space, and they have sometimes episodes of missing time from their childhood that, it's just something that stuck with them their entire life. They don't know what happened. Maybe they didn't come home from school for 5 hours and they're highly reprimanded for such behavior. And they're like, well, I just left. I didn't go anywhere. And now you're a little liar too. And so these incidents stand out so much that they stay with the person their entire life because everybody said they were gone for 3 hours or whatever the case may be. So yes, missing time.
All right. So here you go. The way I put because my mind races. When I get done doing these shows, and I've done this all, I can control my dreams. I have complete and utter control of my dreams. If I want to fly through Chicago, I'll fly through Chicago in my dreams. If I want to race a race car, I'll race a race car in my dreams. I had that ability. I've had some dream people on here say that's unusual, but yes, there are people like you.
Yeah, lucid dreamers.
When I go to sleep, every night before I go to bed, the way I always go to sleep, I'm on a spaceship going to a planet. That's how I put myself to sleep.
No.
Every night.
Really?
Every night. And then I can dream, and it's crazy. What's bizarre about it is it's kind of like I hear the voice of, well, you got to put the covers on you to protect yourself from the radiation. And so and that's how I go.
Wait, you hear the voice?
I hear every night. I go.
Whose voice?
Well, it's an inner voice, but that's how I.
Does it sound like you, or does it sound like somebody else?
It sounds like someone else.
Interesting.
But every night, that's how I put myself to sleep. That is how I kid you not, swear to God, that is how I slow my mind down so I can actually sleep. If I don't do that, I will sit in bed and write code in my head because I'm a programmer. I write software. And I will think about shows. I'll think about this or that, one or the other. But true to form, I've tried to put myself to sleep walking through a haunted house. That doesn't work. I tried to put myself to sleep walking through like a field, visualizing that. That does not work. The only way that I put myself to sleep is, all right, it's kind of like you're getting on the airplane. It's very similar. It's like, we're all right, guys, let's all get on the airplane and here we go. We're going to go. And then you hear the voice, well, get covered up because you got to protect yourself from the radiation. And then lo and behold, I wake up or I have my dream. And I usually have my dreams on the backside of my sleep, not during the sleep. So it's on when I'm, waking up.
Yeah. Well, that's most people remember when they're waking up.
Yeah. And I think that's normal, but that every night when I go to, that's the only way I can put myself to sleep. And I'll listen to I listen to Art Bell or someone, but when I do that, but
that is session worthy.
That is session worthy. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Oh, wow. But no, it is. And like I said, I've had dream interpreters on here and the fact that I can, once I do that, right, and I'm sleeping, I'm aware that I'm awake the whole time. I make fun of it. I love flying airplanes. Airplanes, spaceships, whatever. I'll fly them. I don't care. And I dream that I'll get in there and fly them.
It's funny though. I mean, of all of the things you could do to make yourself wind down, it's funny that you would pick a spaceship.
Well, I think it's because I'm fascinated by, if you're going to fly, I love flying.
But that would, for me, if I was thinking about UFOs when I lay down, my mind would race.
See that calms me. To me, it's like, oh yeah.
No, I would start thinking and researching and going, But it's important not to get too hung up on particular spacecraft. I know that you have to break relatively soon, but I'm thinking that part of the issues with a lot of the people who have experiences is they get way into it, a little obsessive even, and they're wondering, what kind of craft, cigar shaped or saucer or whatever, you're triangular, and they're trying to figure out all that. But I think they're missing the point, when it's like a dog chasing their tail. You're never really going to get anywhere. It's not the point that what type of craft it is. The point is that it is a craft, a UFO, and this is what should push the reality. Yeah. This is what should expand the consciousness. If you just go around and around what type of craft it is, it's like being in a rocking chair. You go back and forth, but you're never really getting anywhere.
Yeah, to me, I'm fascinated by the takeoff. The visual going through the atmosphere, going out into space, flying by a planet. And circling it, and that's like
I guess if somebody did that, they would have a visual.
That's what I do every night.
It's very cool.
That's exactly how I put myself to sleep every night, and then I usually have an old Art Bell show or one of the old shows on in the background as my background noise. But that's exactly how I put that. People count sheep. I fly spaceships.
Well, you've programmed yourself to go to sleep that way.
Yeah, and if I
You've
don't...
hypnotized yourself.
Yeah, hypnotized. Well, if I don't do that, I'll sit up and write code. or programming languages or something, because I write code all the time, and I always have that in the back of my head. But yes, we are going on another break. We'll be back with our very special guest, Laurie McDonald, and you're going to hear about me piloting spaceships. Hey, it's open and honest. Can't ask guests to be open and honest if you're not willing to do the same yourself. But when we get back, we're going to talk with Laurie McDonald. We're going to go through all of the types of abduction one by one and see if she'll share experiences or clinical experiences with us.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean. I hope you guys are having a comfortable trip as we travel into the world of alien abductions. I am your host. You can join me here live every Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. If you friend request me on our main page, I will reject it, but be assured you will get a friend request back from me from our social Facebook account. I check that as well. But we got to have limits, people. Got to have limits. Can't have everybody tapped into your family business. So just letting you know, don't be offended. But if you are on Facebook and you want to sign up for the Midnight Listeners, the best way to do that is go to Midnight Listeners, all one word, and join that group. That group is specifically for the listeners of our show, and I participate on that pretty much when I'm not doing a show from 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I am on that site, so you can shoot me your questions and everything. We try to make ourselves accessible to our listeners. If there's a guest or someone you would like to have on the show, please let us know. We will find them and we will get them on the show. And I do want to say thank you. And I do appreciate all of our former guests who have suggested future guests. I will tell you, next month is going to be incredible. The month of October is going to be an incredible month for our guests. And like I've always said, a great show requires great guests. And we definitely have one of the top here with us tonight, Ms. Laurie McDonald. All right, Laurie, you got me going. You got me thinking. You got me
we
thinking.
live in an interesting world, and pretty much anything is possible, but I didn't know that's what you dreamed. I didn't know that you craved citrus, and I sure didn't know that you might have an autoimmune.
Oh, I do. I diagnosed. It's not.
Okay, so I mean, I just randomly did that. So I say there are no accidents.
You would never know it by the fact that I eat hamburgers, and I love hamburgers, as we talked about. But I have celiac disease.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's weird, though, because with the celiac disease, for those that don't know, celiac obviously is gluten. You hear about gluten-free and everything. But, the celiac, it tears up. And I don't listen to my doctor, and I pay the price for it. But I love a hamburger. I'm sorry. I just take a lot of Tums and certain Medicaid, but it does tear me up. And I think that might be part of my eating disorder too, is because I don't get the nutrients I need out of my system. So that's why I'm always craving food. Right.
Yeah. Doc Wallach, he was at Contact in the Desert. And are you familiar with that event?
No.
Contact in the Desert is a huge UFO event put on in Joshua Tree Resort. And, I think we had David Wilcock and Eric Van Daniken and Jim Mars and Mike Barra. And Doc Wallach was one of the speakers. And he said that almost everything that is wrong with people comes down to nutrition. He said that they need to take a specific amount of vitamins and minerals and fatty acids. Yep. And if you do that, things are going to balance out. And that's all there is to it. He's such an amazing doctor that his book is in the Smithsonian Institute and sells for $25,000.
Wow.
So I listen when he speaks. And so he said that. And so I try to be aware of that, try to be conscious of it.
I'll be the first one to tell you, I did a juice diet where I did nothing but juice. I did it for about 4 weeks, solid juice. Mm-hmm. I felt the best that I've ever felt in my whole entire life. It was incredible. And I didn't have the hunger withdrawals and stuff. except for the occasional Big Mac and stuff around here, Sandy makes sure that we eat healthy, good food, good prep food. The Big Mac is kind of like a reward.
And who am I to deny anybody their reward or their pleasures? And I think that sometimes it's okay to go ahead and enjoy life and not take it too seriously. But overall, like on a daily, regular basis, stay conscious of it, but not to the point where you're not enjoying your life, because then you're experiencing deprivation. I believe it was Buddha who said that it's more stress on the body to withhold a craving than it is to give into it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said, and I guess my thing is I've seen family members who have been miserable because they're big and they've been miserable. I'm not that way. I am not miserable. I'm a jolly, happy Santa Claus 24/7, 365 days a year kind of guy. And so, I refuse to be miserable because of who I just accept, hey, this is who I am, blah, blah. But like I said, I did the juice diet and I felt phenomenal. And everybody's like, well, why did you come off of it? I don't know. I don't know why I came off of it. I just stopped doing it. And then I think food is intentionally, I personally, this is my belief. And I'm going to say this has nothing to do with no scientific fact or anything that I've done. I heard the rumblings, but I think food is intentionally drugs or chemicals are put in it to make it like a drug where your body craves certain things. Once you detox though, because I noticed that, like I said, I did the 3 weeks of juicing, felt great. Awesome. I was in the best, just awesome. And everybody said they could tell. Food is
one of two things. Food is poison or food is medicine. So it's what and how much of what we take. But now in this day and age of over processing and chemicals, where we see that farmers have to go into their cornfields in full hazmat gear, and when I was a kid, I was raised in Ontario, Canada, and I remember running from one end of a cornfield to the other. And now if somebody did that, all the alarms would go off and you would be extremely sick, because the same people who created that Monsanto seed also made Agent Orange. And when your food is being handled by hazmat gear, well, I guess it's no different with the fluoridated water. Fluoride is also a toxic chemical that is handled in full hazmat gear prior to it ending up at Colgate and other such companies.
Well, you know where fluoride came from, right?
Yeah, toxic waste.
No. It was you got to look this up. And I was shocked. I had a guest last week that actually talked about it. The fluoride was actually created by the Nazi scientists who actually created how to kill people. And he used fluoride gas as part of his experiment. Now they went on to a different gas, but then you're right. Fluoride is a byproduct of making fertilizer, and someone in their infinite wisdom said, well, if we have this byproduct, it's a hazardous waste, but we can sell it to governments and have them put it in the drinking water and call it, for tooth decay or whatever.
Right. I mean, and when we do understand the facts, it's hard to believe that 3 out of 4 dentists recommend fluoride, because it seems to me that 4 out of 4 dentists haven't read a toxicology report.
Well, the problem is we're over fluoride because of all the process. I mean, that statement is true if you just took fluoride that was in toothpaste. The problem is because we eat all of these other foods that have fluoride in them.
Canned tuna, that water is most likely. Yeah.
Anything that uses water has fluoride. So you're getting mega doses of fluoride, not just what's in your toothpaste. And now they were debating whether or not to put lithium in the water in West Texas, because they thought it would reduce suicide. Yes.
I'm just surprised that when people, hear things like that all the red flags don't go, what? Fluoride, lithium in the water, young mothers make baby formula out of that with water. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we have filtration systems and because, and they do. It's amazing the chemical. I mean, you have estrogen, you have all sorts. You've got all sorts of drugs in the water in our water system. And if you don't have a water filter or some kind of a Berkey or a 3-stage filtration system, you're just poisoning your family.
Sadly, that is the truth. And it's very unfortunate that we have to say and think in those terms, but we have to be very aware of things like water and what might be in it. But when we ask, well, what does fluoride do to us? Oh. Well, what it is, it's the calcification of the pineal gland.
Wow.
And that is what some people refer to as the third eye, or the ability to resonate with a higher consciousness, ability to tap into your true self, to move on that path of self-acceptance, to self-development, to self-mastery, and to eventually self-actualization, the ability to live the life that you really want to live and see yourself the way that you really see or wish to be. I mean, we all have that ability. And when we start to move in that path, I believe that path is called ascension. When we start to move in that path of ascension, we really begin to see the full abilities of our human potential and what we're capable of doing. But when we see that the natural progression is being tampered with, or a calcification over that, which doesn't allow it to work properly, to help us have that higher, clearer thoughts, it seems deliberate.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I had Dr. Wingo on here. She's down in Ecuador, and she was talking about the pineal gland and how government using stress, how what they'll do is they'll increase your cortisol levels. And when they stress when you stress your body and your mind is now malleable, and it's more subjective to thought. And so they keep you under stress, i.e., we're at war, i.e., the economy's bad. I was listening to Art Bell's radio show, and they were talking about how the economy was going to collapse back in 96. And here it is, 2006, i.e., all these things that keep these stressors.
They're all fear-based. They try to keep the masses in constant fear. Sure.
And then they can, because you're in constant fear. Dr. Wingo, she left the country, and she's down in Ecuador. And she kind of hinted at it. I said, well, and she goes, why do you think I'm no longer in the United States, Jeff? And because she wrote this book, she did this research, and that was her specialty. And sure enough, I get it. It's amazing. I actually posted a red flag kind of, hey guys, you people in the New World Order, you need to listen to this interview that we did, because this is how they're doing. This is how they're manipulating us. And that audio or that video file has been taken down so many times by YouTube. I keep putting it back up.
Yes. And we have to understand that if you don't take the steps to learn how to control your mind, there's a good chance that somebody else would like to do it for you. I'm a huge advocate of meditation.
Sure.
I teach a guided meditation. Anything that I have to do with meditation, I do free of charge, because it's, again, a human right. It's essential in understanding how to control your own mind, to alleviate that fear, to allow it to dissipate and not affect you. And you can do that. There are certain adjustments that you can make. And I believe with a properly adjusted attitude, a person can get through anything.
Oh, you're correct. I mean, it's like anything else. If you have a void, something is going to fill it. So you got to make sure you don't have a void.
Sure.
I'm a firm believer. I mean, I can tell you, since I started doing these radio shows, I don't watch near the TV that I used to, because I just don't have time. And my mental agility, my mental clarity is coming back to me, what it used to be when I was in my 20s. I'm starting to see that now. Before, I was like, I couldn't remember anything. And now I'm like, oh, I remember pretty much everything that I want to remember. And it's slowly coming back. I do want to talk. I'm curious about, so each 5 of your abduction phases. Obviously, have you had experiences with individuals that have had all five? Or not all five, like one person had all five, but so each one of these phases, obviously, it's based upon an experience or part of your therapy, correct?
Yes, I see that certain people have multiple experiences and with different types of extraterrestrials. And so, yeah, we get that. Also notice that people who have experiences, no matter what type, have a heightened sense of psychism or intuition the 2 to 2.5 weeks following the encounter. They are very perceptive, intuitive, psychic, they would tell you. So we don't know why heightened energy. I don't know why. I can only say what so many people all agree on, that this is what we see happening. So there's so many commonalities, but we also see a bleed through in the paranormal, that they don't just have this type of experience, but they're going to be, if there's a ghost, they're going to see that too now. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a big bleed through of what one was considered paranormal activity into the phenomena of extraterrestrial abduction and experiencers.
Sure. Now, do you have there in your clinic or whatever, I mean, do you have access to a physician who can order a lab or a lab test, or no?
Well, actually, I do.
Oh,
there is a doctor there that could do lab tests for me, but that's not really the route that I would take. Okay. As a board of directors for OPUS, there's a doctor that I can talk to for extraterrestrial implant removal.
What I guess what I'm going to.
The resources resources are there.
Well, I'm just wondering if these people if during this, and it's not to disprove or anything. I think it's actually more my question is more to prove. I'm wondering these people that come out of that have these higher levels of psychic ability, if their cortisol levels are higher, if their enzymic levels are higher, and I'm just curious.
Right, but hypnotherapists don't order tests like that.
Yeah, you don't do that. I know. I know, but I think it would be fascinating
that's absolutely
for research.
Something that, there are certain experiencers that have had the labs done.
Yeah,
and there's one in particular, a South American woman. Apparently, her blood is so unusual that the scientists believe that she is a hybrid, and they say right now that it just indicates that it requires further investigation.
Sure.
I believe her name is Maria Milagros, and she's on YouTube, and her mom explains that she had a extraterrestrial experience where there were sexual relations. She became impregnated. She knows that her child is a hybrid. Her child now is a full-grown woman. And they both say that they have they would be under my category of fully integrated, that they have this relationship and they come and go, and family. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with Simon Parks. Have you heard of him? Okay, well, Simon Parks, it's kind of like a low-level, no insult there, but I just mean by ranking. I think he's like a low-level politician in the United Kingdom, like, I don't know, under a mayor or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he claims that he's a hybrid. He is married to a woman from the United Kingdom, but he also says that he has a wife that's like mantis reptilian, and also a child. This is his truth. He has all kinds of interesting evidence that he provides. His mother worked in the Department of Defense for the United Kingdom, the British Parliament, and states that she back in the day, she was sort of recorded, or the information that their military system had on UFOs, and that information was brought to the house where he was, and they let him read it deliberately. They left it in a place where they knew he could see it, so that he's always had this awareness of extraterrestrials. And he's got a very unique story, but he is not alone. I use a figure of about 280 million people who have had some type of serious interaction with extraterrestrials. Now, Dr. David Jacobs, who is 30 years a researcher from Temple University, says that my number is way too low. That when we start to account for the hybridization program and how that's been integrated into our society, that the number is 3 times that. So there's major implications here. We just don't have any answers. You know, we do have a lot of people looking for government disclosure. Stephen Bassett has been the only registered legislator for disclosure in the United States. And I think people deserve to know the truth too. But then on the other hand, if we're to push for disclosure and all of the information is released to the people, it's then highly controlled by the government, and they'll release it in doses that they feel are appropriate. And it's now, you know, under their control once again. So we see Hillary Clinton saying, pretty much vote for me and you'll get the information on extraterrestrials. Yeah. Podesta, you know, talked about that. Hellier, the former defense minister of Canada, definitely says, you know, there are extraterrestrials and that all of the governments know about it. I think about 13 different countries at the United Nations have now come forward with their Air Force and naval information on UFOs. Some, I believe the Brazilian government is even working with some ufologists. Yeah. So we see that it is a serious subject and that people are really beginning now to say, hey, there's just so much going on that we have to look at this. We can no longer keep ourselves in this state of denial where we are like programmed to make fun of experiencers. The Edgar Mitchel Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters has an amazing interdisciplinary plethora of scientists, from Rudy Shields, who's a physicist, to psychologists, and of course Edgar Mitchell himself was an Apollo astronaut. Everybody associated with this organization is an experiencer. Yeah. Well, and so these are big names in the science community and astronauts. I mean, so
Stephen Hawking.
Subject, yeah, there you go.
Stephen Hawking is like, you better, you know, you might not want to be reaching out to these guys.
That's right.
You know, I mean, so this is the thing. I mean, right now, because it's still in the shadows. Excuse me, it's like, it's still kind of in the shadows. And you were saying that these aliens are able to do this because, you know, no one, it's still, you know, all hush, hush, secrecy. But if they bring it out of the shadows, do you think the aliens at that point will go, well, what's the big secret now? And so here we are.
So then what do we do? You know, and then we have to define protocol. Yeah. And so number one, no more abducting people against their will. Okay. Some respect and decency here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think, I want to, because in America, we're sheltered from this, but I actually put an article up on the site about the number of kids every day that just disappear. Now, be it the occultism and all of that, but there are people, there was a gentleman that I listened to not too long ago on, he was on John B. Wells' program, and there's an epidemic in our national forestry, park services. They don't admit it, but there are people, 18 to 20 people a year disappear from our national parks. Mm-hmm. They go hiking and they never come back. And right. You never hear about it. Yeah, and this is a journalist, and he's saying it's in every major national park.
Yeah, and you don't hear about it because they're national parks. They're not investigated generally by local police.
It's federal. Yep.
Yeah, it's a federal thing. And so, yeah, they have like these unusual rules. Yeah, missing 411, I think is the book.
Yep.
And yeah, absolutely fascinating. Now, many UFO researchers and extraterrestrial researchers say that looks like that the reptilian aliens don't really have a problem eating human beings. Just like human beings don't really have a problem eating, cows or lambs or chickens.
If you think about it, that's kind of true.
Or goats. Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you, I recently saw a video of some ranchers, and what they do is they had the, cow give birth to the calf and then try to separate them.
Hey, Laurie, I'm getting yelled at because I completely blew it through a break. They're in my headset. So let's take this break. We'll come back and we'll talk about eating humans. Wasn't that was a Twilight Zone episode, if I remember correctly? But
How to serve humans.
How to serve humans. There you go. Well, our very special guest, Laurie McDonald, joining us all the way from the great state of California. We're talking about how to serve humans, the alien abduction agenda.
Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You join us here every weeknight from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. For all of you guys out there in YouTube, we're getting reports from YouTube that they are having problems. But we checked our bandwidth going to them. There's not an issue there. So obviously we're talking about something that someone doesn't want us or want you to hear. I already know what we're talking about. I don't need to hear it. I live it. But I will tell you that if you are listening to us on YouTube, you can always go out to our website, www.themidnightocean.com, and listen to the show right off of Spreaker, off the air. You can pick any device. Now, good news on that front. We have been approved for the Apple Store, our new app, and it's just a matter of time getting Apple up there to update the store. So you can download our show directly to your Apple, and you can listen to it live and do all of those great things. Android will be coming next. We're going to, gotta crawl before we run. So we have the Android app will be coming out as well. So look forward to seeing that. And the way that you know that those things are coming out, if you get out to the Midnight Ocean on Facebook, friend us, join the Midnight Listeners group, it will all be posted there. That's the power of social media. Yeah, I'm one of these people. I like seeing the hang in there kittens and all of that posters on Facebook, but it does become distracting. And I promise I will not contribute to all of that spam, Facebook spam, as they would say. But without further ado, let's bring back our guest. And right before we went on the break, Laurie, we were talking about how to serve humans.
I was saying that I recall watching a video where the ranchers were trying to separate the calf from the mother cow shortly thereafter birth. And she was in high protest.
Yes.
And the other cows were coming around and helping try to circle and keep the ranchers away from the baby.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think, well, we are instilling fear. We're stealing the young, and this is creating trauma in the animal, and we are doing it without a consciousness, without realizing, or if we realize, we are, maintaining a certain degree of denial to allow us to move forward. Not a vegetarian. Don't want you to get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
I believe that it's how you do things. I think that it needs to be done with reverence and respect and in full gratitude.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because Manu Itarami was on the show a couple of weeks back, and, he played a character on Star Trek, on the Star Trek franchise. And he was talking about there in California, I guess there's a thing now, and it's also in New York, but he mentioned that if you want to eat a hamburger, you have to go out to a ranch and you actually see the process. And people are starting to do that. And I guess what they're doing is they're locking. You talk about what you do with hypnotherapy, but they're doing their own form of hypnotherapist, because you don't ever want to see the meat processed. You really don't. You don't want to see it. It's not. It's something that I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I still eat meat.
Yes, I have heard about it. My brother worked at a big meat packing place, and as a rookie, they always put the new guys on the kill floor. So I've definitely heard of all the horrific things that go. And so for me, my choice is kind of simple. I personally choose not to eat meat from animals that weigh more than I do. And I think that when I do eat it, I always kind of do this little blessing over it where I am grateful for the food, and I hope for the maximum nutrition to be absorbed in me, because I realize that this is the life of a living thing.
Yeah.
So I think that I just have some simple policies of trying to eat kind of close to the earth.
No, I have a buddy I fish with here in the Gulf, and whenever he catches a fish, I got to ask him if he's being sarcastic or if he's actually true. I know him well enough to know he's not being sarcastic in this case, because he would never do. But every time he catches a fish, he says, "Thank you, God, for giving us this this fish to feed our family every
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. And thank you, fish, for participating, because on some level it is the circle of life. But when we're aware, then we should be grateful because we're getting it. And so back to the reptilians who are said to eat humans. They're doing it in the same sort of disrespectful way. Interestingly, it worked with somebody who said that one of their encounters with the reptilian was one of the most life-changing, mind-blowing, terrifying things they ever experienced.
Well, I can't imagine, by the way, thanks, Laurie, because when I go out in the ocean, I'm worried about sharks and large octopus, all those sea creatures. Now I got to worry about the freaking reptilians. But I guess the thing is that, and I've always said this, is that we think we're at the top of the food chain, and we're actually not.
Oh, well, absolutely. There's bacteria that can do us in.
Yeah. Well, simple. But I can't imagine what it would be like to live in fear. I mean, if you had dinosaurs, think about T-Rex roaming the earth, and there was no way of stopping him. And at any given time, he just reach into your house and grab you and eat you. That is, I can't imagine.
Humans are products of their environment, and we are highly adaptable and very resilient. So we learn to work within the environment. And so their fear level of it, absolutely, it's going to be heightened, but not to the point where we would think, because it's their environment. They're used to that. When they were born, there were T-Rexes running around, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But when we talk about things like reptilians, the experience that I've had told to me more than once is that the person is taken off planet and they're shown a facility. And I'm going to tell you, Jeff, it's a little bit scary, but they say that a human body is on like a conveyor belt, and then the limbs are removed, the skin is removed, and they go through the process of basically cleaning for meat. And they said that it was kind of like a punishment from the reptilians, or like a threat or something, that they felt that they were showing them that this is what could happen to you, and but now, in all fairness, and I do want to remain balanced, they say that only some reptilians do that and others don't. And even though I deal a lot with the abduction phenomena, I deal a lot with contactees who have a beautiful, blissful, loving experiences, who bring great hope, and they show us inspirational insights into what the extraterrestrials bring to them. And so there are people who have those truly beautiful experiences. So again, a planet of duality, where when we take into account the good, we have to also recognize that the bad may exist. And so forewarned is forearmed. And so the more information we have, the better we're just able to cope with the bigger environment that we're sort of moving into. Everybody is moving through this shift or the ascension process. And we're being told that the third dimension, as we know it, is slipping away as we're moving into the fourth. Another possible reason for the Mandela effect, by the way. So scientists will say, we're moving because the universe is growing. That's the nature of things. The only constant in the universe is change. So we have to change now, open our minds and see the bigger picture, begin to move through this transitional period. And in my line of work, I'm here to help people as they move into bigger thinking or an expanded consciousness, because there's a certain amount of stress involved with these things when things happen like you're experiencing what you believe is like a glitch in the matrix. What does that mean? If you really start to think about it, and then you have to question a reality, and then we have to look at things like consciousness, then the picture becomes murky and the conversations get very deep, and people have to push past what they were told And we have to look at the new information and weigh it, and then try to make the next empowered step, taking a step that is going to help yourself as well as, your community. Because I do believe everything we do does affect each other, that it's an illusion to think that this is a solo ride.
Yeah.
We're working together here, but all these little bits of division or race or language or culture keep getting pushed down our throats. And now every time you turn on the TV, we're bombarded with terrorist attacks or some type of public shooting of the innocent. These are shock value.
Yeah, no, they want us to stay focused on each other.
They're passing laws and taking away your freedom behind your back.
Exactly. No, this is all design.
Oh, just my opinion.
No. You're absolutely right. This is all by design. I've said that from day one. Look, I mean, you're dealing with people that are playing chess. We're playing checkers. Our average attention span's only 8 minutes. That's why TV's structured the way TV's structured. And they know that. And we're dealing with people that put this into play back in the 1800s. And now it's coming to fruition. I try not to get politics. That was the old show. The old Jeff Norton used to do the politics, but I see it. I mean, all of this stuff that goes on in Houston and what's going on, or in Tulsa and what's going on in North Carolina, I had to tell people, look, the tragedy in all of that is you have two individuals who aren't going home at the end of the day. We have two Americans who have been killed for whatever reason. I don't care what they were doing. I know I got a lot of listeners that go, well, one of them had a gun. It doesn't matter. Well,
actually, they all had guns, perhaps. That's one of the problems, okay?
But the thing is that it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, boil it down, we have lost two souls. We have lost two souls. We've given them up to the ghost. And who knows the wonderful offspring or what these people could have contributed. You don't know if one of these individuals could have been driving one day and maybe saved the next doctor who was going to cure cancer.
We don't know, but we do know that most police officers are grossly undereducated in crisis situations, that they don't have the background training to deal with it, and that they only need like 18 hours of crisis training to become a cop. Some states it's even less. I mean, the cops aren't trained. They're going through a 9 or 12 week, training program, and they're put on the streets in situations that they're just not psychologically prepared to deal with.
I agree.
But they're taught how to use a gun. So this is just going to create trigger happy cops, and they're going to react out of fear. And that's not how we want the police officers to act. I believe people have the right to bear arms, and I think that not all cops are bad. I think that they're just not trained properly, that we just need to stop pointing fingers and looking at, what we can do to make things better. And one of those things is, once again, education.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wholeheartedly, I mean, when you hear these officers, and I know it's the buzzwords, I feared for my life. It's like, well, all right, wait a minute here. Did you not know? What did you think you were going to be doing? Writing tickets. I mean, come on. You're going into a profession that you carry a weapon more than our military carries weapons. When our military's in the United States, well, they just changed the law. But of recent, when military people were on base in the United States, they weren't allowed to carry weapons on base, on post. You carry, so your job requires you to carry a weapon to protect yourself. What did you think you were getting into? You were going to sit around and write tickets and boss people around and be the punk, because you were the bully in high school. You needed to be the bully. And I'm not against police, but I would like to see smarter police officers. I would like to see.
That's not going to happen.
I know.
That's by design too, so that they don't question their orders.
That's right. You are correct. You are absolutely correct.
That's what it looks like to me.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, I met this is the thing that scares me now. Most of your police officers are combat killers. These are guys who should be sitting back in a therapy chair and getting help for the rest of their lives because they've seen the horrors of war. And now you're going to give them a weapon in which you tell them, say, hey, look, there's rules of combat in war that don't apply to the civilian world. All I have to do is say, I was in fear of my life.
Well,
and I can kill someone.
Surrender used to mean that once you surrendered, hands in the air, once you're surrendered, you're not going to be shot. Yeah, shot in the back or what. But the other part of it too, and I also believe too, is that there's another person. Look, I'm a First Amendment. I'm a 3%. I'll tell you, I'm a 3%er. I belong to those groups. But if a cop tells me to do something, I'm going to do it just out of self-preservation because I know he's got the gun and it's on me. So I'm going to do everything, and then I'll circle. If he was wrong or whatever, I'll circle back around and deal with it later. And of course, if there's a problem, your kid goes missing. Yeah. There's an accident in front of the house. The first thing you're going to do is call a cop. Yeah. I mean, so we want them there. They provide a service. We just want them better trained. Yeah. Well, I agree. And you're absolutely right. I think at the bare minimum, they have to go through, we're talking a 4-year college. I'd like to see the police 4-year college. And then on top of that, then they have to go through their training that they do. And all of, even in, like I said, even in the military, you go through basic training. And then when you get done with basic training, then you go to your specialty training. So you spend the time in boot camp. And then when you're done doing that, you spend another year or so at your specialty. So you're learning. That's a whole nother, you get me going on that one, and I'll talk to you for another 2 hours. But I do want to, I want to go back to this whole notion of the aliens. Now, are you finding that some of your abductees are giving you information that says, hey, look, things aren't going to be that great coming up, but don't worry about it. We're here. We got your back. Oh, yes, I do hear that. Okay. I absolutely hear that. I hear that when, people sort of relax a little bit, let go of tensions and anxieties, allowing their energies to recalibrate, become more in sync in a natural way. The planet is going to, move through a change where we become a little more enlightened, and some of the higher beings will be able to have interactions with us on a respectful level. At the same time, there are those who are saying, yes, but it's a fight. There's a fight out there, and we're sort of fighting for our souls because the bad ones are trying to manipulate and control our energy, by programming us through things like TV. That's why they call it a program. Mm-hmm. You're only remotely in control. That's why it's a remote control. The TV is definitely programming you through light and sound. And I know that in school I learned that there's a certain percentage of content in advertising and marketing art that was subliminal, and that was okay. We see them use it blatantly, and then there's the buzzwords that they know are going to open the subconscious a little bit. Any words, in marketing that are like dreamy or drift, the consciousness begins to like drift, and that makes the subconscious a little more open. Yeah. Because we're in a beautiful, relaxed state where they can drop in, hey, this makes your clothes whiter or your teeth whiter, or buy this product. Well, you as a hypnotherapist know that there's frequencies that you can, audible tones and frequencies that you can use. I use sound through all of my sessions to help induce a deeper state of hypnosis so that we can get the work done. Well, guess what the TV frequency is? 60 megahertz.
So if I took a tone generator and played 60 megahertz to most people, I can put you to sleep. I can put you in a state, and that's
sure.
And that's what the TV's the resync rate is at 60. So you're people don't realize it when they're sitting in front of the TV. You are being hypnotized. You are being lulled, and that's all by design. That was
just try to call your kid away from the TV.
Yeah.
They can't help it. You know, they actually are being hypnotized. And so we have to teach people how to observe TV as opposed to watch. Be careful when you over-emote, allowing them to draw you in too much and you have this huge emotional reaction because, in fact, you're emitting ergs of energy and they can be accumulative, they can collect. And so we become like these little batteries sparking off. And we know that that's true. When somebody hits their head and they're taken into the ER and the 12 electrodes are hooked up so that a neurologist can read the EEG, the brain waves are then transported onto the graph. And, when they're not going on the graph through these electrodes, they're going out into the ethers and they become accumulative. So everything, our thoughts are strong. We need to learn how to, again, back to controlling your own mind, being more of your own watcher and observer, especially when it comes to things like TV. Hey, it's a lost art is reading these days. People are just not, reading a full book. Like you said, the attention span is becoming smaller and it's really not healthy. There are things happening that we can change, we just have to become aware of them and understanding the mind-body connection, understanding the environment that we live in. We can make the changes that are necessary. When we see the food on the shelves that we know can chemically alter our DNA, or we eat a genetically modified food where scientists tell us it's proven to cause cancerous tumors in second and third generational offspring of both human and animals, and we're still eating it, we have to understand that why would we do that? Yeah. And it can't simply just be from convenience. So we have to vote with your money. Don't buy it. It'll rot on the shelves, and not for a really long time though, because boy, those GMOs last. But my point is if you don't, it's supply and demand. Yeah. Vote with your money. Don't buy the things that are unhealthy. They'll change them and make them healthier. You are in control.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's no reason I have no desire to eat spider salmon.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know what that is, but it doesn't sound good. That was one of the first genetic modified animals that they did. They actually took the genes of a spider and they mixed it with genes of a salmon. I have no reason. I don't know why, but it was spider salmon. That was the first one. I remember hearing about that on another show. These things are unnecessary.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the extraterrestrial connection, because there are those speculating that perhaps the hybrids or the extraterrestrial themselves would perhaps like to not only integrate onto the planet, but take over in the population. They live better under chemtrail skies, and genetically modified foods make us more malleable.
Yep.
For them.
Yeah, they can splice into the DNA or the gene, and it's just great.
So we shouldn't help them do it.
Yeah, exactly. Monsanto, and that just goes to show you that these corporations, they have no souls whatsoever, none whatsoever, and I just don't understand the mindset of these people and the heartlessness and how do they sleep
it's just money. You see, it all comes back to money. And if you vote with your money, you begin to take back your power.
Yeah, agree. And guess what? Because we missed the first break, the second break actually jumped up on us pretty quickly. And Can you go one more segment? Are you good to go one more segment?
Well, I got probably one more segment in me.
Yeah, okay. Because I want people to have the opportunity. You have to do the full segment, but I want people to have the opportunity to know how to find you, where to reach you, shows, all of that stuff. You know, this is what we call the shameless promotion side and everything. So, all right, we're talking with our very special guest, Laurie McDonald, is joining us live on Skype. And we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, of course, if you are interested in retaining Laura's services, we'll show you and tell you how you can do that. But you're listening to the Midnight Ocean radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. We'll be back in 4 minutes. Take a break, get some coffee.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show as we roll into Saturday morning. Happy weekend, everybody. Probably should have said that a few hours ago. Hope you are enjoying this conversation. I know I am. I am thoroughly enjoying the conversation with our very special guest, Laurie McDonald. Wow. What an evening. What an evening. For those that are out there on YouTube, if we get disconnected, you can always go to our Facebook page or onto our website, themidnightocean.com. Listen to us the old-fashioned way. All this technology. Sometimes I don't know if I'm a video producer, a radio engineer, a host of a radio station. I don't know. Some days I just don't know, Laurie. I just don't know. Stuff. At least you know what you do for a living.
Yes, I do.
That's a good thing, right?
It is.
Sometimes I'm sitting here looking at YouTube and I'm like, oh, the video feed. I'm getting alerts from YouTube. Video output low. Then I'm getting emails over here. It's like, guys, go back to the radio. Do what we used to do. It works. The good old radio. Listen to us there.
Absolutely.
And if you don't get us in your area, of course, you can always go on the web and download us there. So, wow, can you imagine that we've gone through? We've been talking now for several hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been great. I want to give you the opportunity. If I want to retain your service, and I'm definitely going to be talking to you after the show, by the way. I'll wait till Monday though, during business hours. If I wanted to reach out, how do I find you? How do I get a hold of you?
Well, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. You can go to my website, which is trueyouhypnotherapy.com. You can go to my True You Hypnotherapy Facebook page. Go ahead and like that. You can hit the contact button and send me a message through there. You can follow me on Twitter at Laurie's True You and phone me. You'll get my assistant and she'll be able to explain whatever you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that information is on my website.
Yeah. Well, and I'll let everybody out there know that they actually do answer your phones. I called today and spoke to your assistant. So yes.
Absolutely. We do answer our phones. If they are interested in what I say, I'm speaking at Isetti Ranch in Washington at the end of the month, the 29th through the 1st at the Isetti Ranch. Laura Eisenhower is doing a presentation. She's putting on the production called Be the Shift. And the goal here is awakening galactic and unity consciousness. So also for the women out there who are looking for personal empowerment and wanting to know how to take that next step in your life, we do the femininegoddessretreats.com. You can check out that website. We have the upcoming Kona, Hawaii, on a beautiful private estate where you will have the combination of 3 modalities to move you into a higher way of being, into a more empowered place.
Now, Laurie, what about us guys?
Sorry. No, just, we're working with women, because, they are disempowered. We understand that men are too, but, they're the ones running the world at the moment. We are opening up the retreats to couples and then to anyone who wants. But right now, based on the locations and the facilities, it's really not co-ed because I can't find a sanctuary or retreat that can house the people. Right now, I'm sleeping so many women and it's shared accommodations on a private estate, beautiful, beautiful oceanfront place. And, it's all women. So for multiple reasons, but don't worry, the men will be able to come one day.
I disagree with you, Shay, because Sandy tells me that I think I run the house. She goes, I allow you to think that way too.
Well, that's true. And that's, and all your good ideas come from us and we let you think they're yours.
Oh, they're all, I will be the first one to tell you, Sandy is I'm the captain of this ship tonight, but Sandy's the captain of my life. She drives it. She's my check. She everything. She's like, Jeff, that's the dumbest idea that you've ever done.
We all pull our own weight,
Yep.
right? Create a good, strong, healthy couple, and we all have our strengths. So the idea is to just be really good teammates.
Yeah. But see, we're old fashioned though. A lot of people ask us, they're like, how do you guys get along so well and do the things you do? And it's because we subscribe to the rule. Some of the rules that have been out, not rules, but some of the guidance that's been out there for thousands of years. There's a reason why they've been out there for thousands of years. We have our role. We do. We have our roles within the family, and it's like, look, I do this, she does that, and then she calls all the shots.
I agree that there are defined roles, and that people do rely on them, and you can have a great sense of comfort from that type of tradition. Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
But each their own. What works for me and Sandy might not work for you, and that's okay. Well, that's what's so great about life is that.
Well, any type of person can fill that role. It doesn't have to be traditional on any level. Exactly. So because times they are changing.
They definitely are changing and stuff. So I thank you very much. I always ask this question at the end, is there anything and that's why I wanted to make sure it would give us plenty of room. Is there anything that I left off? Anything that you want to talk about that I might have missed, and that's important to you though to get the message out?
No, it's been a fantastic interview. I love the good questions. I love it when we can, speak our truth and still at the same time be able to say the things that we want to say, creating, in the end, a positive message of personal empowerment for people. And, hey, I think we covered quite a bit.
We did. And it's funny because I get criticized from my mainstream media guys. I still have professor buddies who teach, broadcast, and they're like, you got to do and it's like, no, I do the conversation, and they criticize. And I love it because I feel that it allows us to get comfortable, number one, and then when we're comfortable, we share more. People share more.
Yeah, and it's people know a programmed, interview, and even us, we can anticipate the questions and then it becomes so robotic and repetitive, right? Yeah. It's better to be more organic.
Yeah, I got to get, we're in the process of building a studio. So if you ever want to come to Florida, because I tell people when we first started, I was like, think of it as a dinner date with a couple thousand people listening into the conversation. But eventually, when we got our studio built here in Florida, we'll start having people actually come and do dinner, and we'll just kind of sit over. I've always been fascinated by that. This whole format of this show came about because I got to give credit to my father. He meets with his buddies at a Hardee's. They sit around and just shoot the breeze, keep it radio safe, and and he thoroughly enjoys doing that every morning. He does that. That I think is what he looks forward to, that and golf. And so when I styled this show, that's what I wanted to do, is have a show where people can just come in and be themselves. And we just talk about things that, we talk about esoteric things, but we're comfortable about it. We're not apprehension or anything like that. So
no, for me, the paranormal is rather normal.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more. I am finding, like I said, the majority of my guests or my listeners came over from the conservative talk radio side. And when I started doing the show, I got a lot of flack. When I told everybody I was coming back on the air, they thought I was going back in the conservative radio. And it's like, nope, I'm going paranormal all the way. I'm doing Art Bell. Art Bell did the same thing. He did political talk radio for years. And those straight-laced people have to admit that there's probably been a time in their life
when they have experienced something that they couldn't quite explain.
They all do.
Or somebody they know saw something,
Yep.
or you know how it goes.
They all do. And the ones that go, oh, that's bunk, those are guys I don't want to, because they're so narrow-minded anyways, they're not fun to begin with. You know,
right.
But I will tell you that most of the interactions that I have with people have been surprising, because most of these people are like, that's that. Yes, I used to hear it all the time. Well, that's that liberal talk or whatever. And these people are like, well, yeah, you know, it's like, well, last week you were calling it that liberal talk, or it's just, it's refreshing to know that people are putting aside their political beliefs and they're getting it, because like you said, a lot of people have had these experiences. They won't admit it in public. They won't admit it in front of their friends, but on the side, they contact me every day and say, hey, look, I got this going on. What do you think I should do? And
absolutely.
It's like, well, here's a phone number. Here's a website. Here's a person to call. And now I have someone to send them to when they think that they might have been an abductee or might be dealing with some other issues.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So, Laurie, I appreciate it. Have a great weekend and spend it with your family, spend it with your loved ones, spend it with someone, but just don't spend it alone. That's the main thing. I
certainly will be having a fantastic weekend.
All right. Take care of yourself. So everybody, yep. Good night. So everybody, that was Laurie McDonald joining us. Wow. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I know I did. She's a clinical hypnotherapist, an abduction researcher, and she does regression therapies. Wow. What a show. I know. I know it's Laurie, not Laura. Laurie. See, I got the McDonald right. That's one of those things. You know how you have a word that no matter how you say it, you can never say it correctly. Do you notice that? Do you notice how there's always a word that no matter what, I have that mental block with names. I am definitely going to call Laurie on Monday. We're going to get to the root of this, because that is aggravating. You can't be in my business and do what I do and not get your guest names right. I am so appalled at myself for that. And it seems that, I don't know, like I said, first name, last name. I don't know. I don't know how I can overcome that. If you guys have an idea, I'm open. I'm open for suggestions, but let me know. But Laurie McDonald joining us. Not Laura. Laurie. Oh, my Lord. What a night. What a week. I think we've had an outstanding week of guests. Next week is going to be fun as well. We are definitely looking forward to our guests next week. We're going to have Stephanie Osborne, Derek Gilbert on. Wednesday, we're leaving open because I think we might have a special guest filling that one in. We're going to have Rob Skiba, and then Ed Roman is going to be joining us on the Skype line, which will always be fun. If you guys don't know who Ed is, he's the guy that I play his music. He's kind of our pseudo theme song music. Kevin MacLeod actually does our first song that we do, but we always end with my good friend Ed Roman's song, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But I just want to tell everybody, thank you. Thank you for our great success. It's all because of you. Please make sure that when you are telling your friends about us, let them know that they can join us on YouTube. They can also join us on Facebook. But more importantly, have them go out to the midnightocean.com. Next week or so, we're going to have the iPhone app, so you can download all of our shows. You can listen to them live. You can have it auto download as well, which is going to be cool. So you don't have to sit up on the internet. It will do it automatically for you. Just trying to make your life a little bit easier. Oh, what an evening. But I just want to tell everybody, thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. And like always, on a Friday, now it's Saturday morning, please, please spend the weekend with someone, with a friend, with a family member, someone you love, doing something you love to do. Life's too short. I do promise you, we are going to have Gerard Artisan's show on, and you're going to know exactly where this is coming from. We had a great show. Maybe I'll put him in. Actually, that's what I'll do. On the 28th, I'm going to put Gerard's show there, because he and his words of wisdom just resonated so clearly in my head about love thyself and then love thy neighbor as thyself. But first, you got to love yourself. Take care of yourself first. And then with that, pass it on. Pass it on to the next person. Think about it. We can change the world overnight if you think about it. If everybody in the world tomorrow morning woke up, looked at someone else and told them how much they appreciate them, how much they value them, and how important they are to them. If we did that, if everybody did, walk up to a total stranger and say that too, you can change their day. Think about how we could instantly, overnight, end all war. And that's so important. You know, we pray for the families there, the victims there in Oklahoma. Also the victim in North Carolina, regardless of what side of the fence you're on that issue, side with the police, side with the people, whatever. At the end of the day, I've said this and I'll say it again. We lost two people, two souls, and you don't know what God had planned for them. Who knows? They might have come up with a cure, the greatest invention. They might have saved the person who was going to do that. You don't know. We'll never know. That's the problem with death, is it's so permanent. And that's why we need to protect life as much as we can. That includes the 3 million babies every year that are snuffed out in this country. Unbelievable. But I don't want to end on a low note. I do want to end up on a high note. I just want to say thank you. God bless you guys. We will be in touch until Monday. I'm out of here. I'm going to spend some time with the one I love, Sandy. And we're going to be swimming in the pool, kind of enjoying the little break that we have, that God has given us, and the fortunate life that he has provided for us. And like always, I want to tell you, if you can be anything, you can only be one thing. Make sure you're this. Be love.
somehow, in some way. Look for your own truth in your heart when it's bold. You know, it may seem like a coda, but I learned it from my Baba. It's not what you believe, it's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you doing now.
Wolfman Jack.